plaintiff in the amount of $1,189. That's all.
Now this is case number 218 on the calendar in the matter of Irizarry versus Irizarry. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Sir, have a seat. Ma'am, you also.
Miss Irizarry, I'm going to make short shrift of one part of your case,
Okay.
and that has to do with rent, this little tidbit of rent that you want from the defendant, who's your brother. I want to stay with the claim for the destroyed motorcycle, because that's really the basis of your claim, the destroyed motorcycle. Am I right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. There's your claim. Your brother doesn't deny that he was riding on your motorcycle. He totaled it. Damage was substantial to the motorcycle, over $3,000. His defense is that you should have had better insurance. And, shh, is that right? And he is counterclaiming because he says if you had better insurance, he wouldn't have had to have paid all the medical bills when he was injured when he had this accident with your motorcycle. So that is his counterclaim, and he is counterclaiming for $5,000. Is that right, sir?
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am.
When did you get this motorcycle, Miss Irizarry?
Actually 2 months before he wrecked it on me.
And how much did you pay for it?
$3,500.
You have the bill?
No. I don't have the bill, but actually I have, from the place that I bought it from, papers of the same year and same bike and same model for the price.
Who did you buy it from?
A private owner.
Tell me about the day that your brother borrowed it.
He usually takes it. He'll ask us to borrow it, and he always tells us if anything ever happens, he'll go ahead and he'll pay $3,000 for the bike if anything ever happened to the bike. The day he asked me to borrow it...
when did he say that to me? Sis, can I borrow your bike, and if anything happens to it, I'll pay you $3,000? Is that what he says?
Well, in Florida...
I want to know. I'm asking you.
Well, what happened is in Florida, you don't need insurance on a motorcycle. And I told him...
You didn't answer my question.
Go ahead.
So you mean what your brother said to you was, sis, can I borrow your bike, and if anything happens to the bike, I'm going to give you $3,000. That's what he said.
After I hesitated a couple of times, yes.
Huh?
After I hesitated a couple of times, yes, that's what he said.
Now, on what date did he borrow the bike when it was in this accident?
June 6th of 2002.
Tell me about that date.
Actually, that day, he just, like normal, asked to borrow the bike, and he went on his way. I was with his girlfriend and my fiancé, and we were going to a swimming pool, and one of his buddies had told us that he seen our bike on the side of the road with 2 police cars around it, and that was pretty much it. We drove up to the scene where it was. My brother wasn't there at the time. The bike was crashed. The 2 officers were there, were actually on their way to charge my brother with reckless driving before we got there. And he is, at the time, was a fellow officer, and I guess he knew one of the officers there and kind of got my brother out of that. And we went to the hospital. We went to the hospital.
I'm sure he's really pleased that you just advised me of that.
Well,
go ahead.
Being honest. And and we pretty much met him at the hospital. The cops informed us that we had the tow truck coming on their way to tow the bike, and it was undrivable. And that was pretty much it. And I went to the hospital.
And he was in the hospital?
Yes.
How long did you stay in the hospital?
4 hours.
4 hours. What'd they do for you?
They just cleaned the wounds and sent me on my way. I was down for about a little shy of 2 months. Couldn't work, couldn't move.
Why couldn't you work?
Because I had road rash all over my whole body.
So you borrowed your sister's bike, you totaled it. Go ahead. Let me hear you.
The day I had borrowed the bike, I was asked to drive the motorbike to see if there was any knocking noise. Her and her boyfriend had asked me to test drive the bike to see if it does any noises. I took it for a quick ride. On my way back, I was going over railroad tracks. The back tire popped out on me. I tried to control the bike. I couldn't control it. And it says I was swerving in and out of the lanes. The total distance from the tracks to the board of the bike was 370 feet. I only slid about 50 feet to 75 the most. And then after that, when I got into the hospital, I told her I got AAA, drove back to the house, put it in a bargain trader, we're on eBay, because she had got rid of a car with a blown motor that way. I said, we'll do it that way too.
I don't know what you're talking about. What gibberish are you talking about?
Neither do I.
I told her not to put the bike in the junkyard, not to tow it. Tow it back to the house, and I'll be able to sell it. So that way, you know, it's not all the way money out of pocket. So here I am. I'm sitting here thinking about, well, shouldn't she have insurance on it or provided me with a helmet or anything? And the back tire was totally bald. That it started showing spots to the back tire.
Had you ever used this motorcycle before, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
How many times before had you used it?
Quite a few. Sometimes I was stuck with the bike. Sometimes she would ask.
Shh, don't speak.
You ran out of gas.
Don't speak. I'm talking to him. Had you used it more than 10 times?
Oh, yes.
More than 20 times?
About, yes.
How old are you?
I'm 22.
How is your vision?
Good.
Really good?
Yeah.
Good vision. Good enough so that you can tell if a tire is bald or not, right?
Right, but...
Don't say but me no buts.
Sorry.
But me no buts. So on this particular date, you say you had not borrowed the bike, but you were asked to do a test drive on the bike.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Baloney.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You were going so fast, the bike was airborne, sir.
Right.
Right.
And it also says...
That's what it says.
And later today,
You ultimately returned the dress to her in a shopping bag.
Yes.
Rob!
Right. No, you're right. You're exactly right.
That's why I'm here.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Chris was Christina's fault.
Let me see the paperwork she has with regard to a bike of similar condition. Then I may just cut it in half because I don't believe a word she says about how much she paid for it, because if any normal person has some bill of sale with regard to a bike.
I also have a police report stating that he was driving recklessly and 2 written witnesses on the report.
Can I see the police report, please?
Yes. It even says that when he hit the track tire, how can he actually go in the air?
I'm going to ask you this question. I know that you don't need insurance, and certainly I'm going to take his counterclaim until I'm speaking. Don't you understand that?
Yes, go ahead. I'm sorry.
You may be younger, but I'm smarter.
Definitely.
All I really want to do is read this so that I can yell at him a little bit more and then figure out how much I'm going to give you for your bike. And then I'll let you go with your fiancé, and your fiancé is going to get you outside and say to you, how could you have talked about my job like that? Right? In front of all those people, that he got him off on a charge? Wait until he gets you outside. Explain to her the ramifications of that, sir. Not smart, you know. Well, there are witnesses here that say that you were going so fast the bike was airborne, sir.
Right.
Right.
And it also says...
That's what it says.
Also,
Anyway, you borrow somebody's property, you don't take good care of it, you got to pay for it. The fact that she is not required to have insurance in the state where you live is kind of ridiculous, because if he had used your bike and instead of just hurting himself, he had killed somebody else, you know who they would come after?
Me.
Right.
Yes.
Right. I probably think you got a good deal on this bike and paid maybe $2,500 for it, and that's what you're going to get. As far as your counterclaim is concerned, it's the dumbest thing I ever heard. Absolutely the dumbest thing I ever heard. You did the wrong thing.
Well, I'm suing her because of the tire, not because of the insurance.
Listen to me. The tire was bald?
That's right.
There's a term in the law called assumption of risk. Let me tell you what that means. That means that if you do something that's dumb, you assume the risk and the consequences of your actions. Now, unless you can tell me that her eyesight is so much better than yours and you could not see that this tire was bald, according to your testimony, you drove this bike at least 20 times in the 2 months that she owned the bike.
That's right.
And that if you were going to get on the bike and if you knew that the tire was bald, because you could see that the tire was bald, then you shouldn't have gotten on the bike. You should say, sis, I'm not going to do a test drive on this bike until you put a new tire on it, because the tire's no good. But if you get on the bike, knowing that the tire is bald, you assume the risk of anything that happens. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Good. Goodbye.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Got me out of a ticket. She was being reckless. I don't think I was reckless driving.
We don't talk no more.
Floyd right now. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,500. That's all.
Your Honor, case number 75 on the calendar in the matter of Hertz versus Gonzalez. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Gentlemen, have seats, please.
Miss Hertz, your father was a doctor?
Yes, ma'am.
What kind of a doctor was he?
He was a chiropractic physician, ma'am.
And he passed away in April, is that
March
right?
28th.
According to your complaint, your father had a medical practice and his landlord was the defendant.
No, ma'am. Mr. Gonzalez is the strip mall building manager.
Okay, he was the manager of the building.
Yes, ma'am.
And you tried to get into your father's office in order to retrieve his files after his death.
Yes, ma'am, according to probate code.
Just answer my questions. Mr. Gonzalez would not let you into the building or your father's office when you wanted to get into the office, and it is your claim that because you could not get into the office at an appropriate time, you lost a substantial amount of money because you could have sold those files to another doctor if you had been able to do it sooner, and you're seeking damages in the amount of $5,000. Mr. Gonzalez, has a reason that he says that he did not allow you to remove the files when you wanted to. He's counterclaiming for defamation because he says that you're bad-mouthing him to other people, calling him a tyrant. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
I want you to forget about your counterclaim. Forget about the counterclaim. But we're going to get to the plaintiff's claim, which I find rather interesting. All right, your father died. Did he die suddenly on March 28th?
No, ma'am. He entered the hospital with viral pneumonia on March 23rd and passed away on March 28th.
How old a man was he?
He had been 84 for 6 weeks.
Had he been in full-time practice up until the time he got sick?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, on what date was the first date that you tried to get into his office?
I arrived in Los Angeles April 3rd in the evening.
On April 3rd?
Yes, ma'am. I was unable to get here sooner than that because of
So you
business.
were not here when your father died?
No, no, ma'am.
You were not here when he was in the hospital?
No, ma'am.
Where do you live?
Chicago.
Well, were you advised that he was sick and in the hospital on the 23rd of March?
Yes, ma'am. However, my father was always a very strong, healthy person. We're into natural health and healing. And we never expected him to be, we never expected this to happen.
How many children are there?
Just myself.
So who was with him when he was in the hospital? Nobody.
No one.
Oh. So you got here after your father died?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you get here after the funeral?
No, ma'am. The service, I went to the mortuary on April 4th, identified his body at the hospital, took him to the mortuary, and made the arrangements then. We had a memorial service for him.
Just a minute. So he died on March 28th, 29th, 30th, April 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. 7 days later,
yes, ma'am.
You managed to find a way to come from Chicago to Los Angeles.
Yes, ma'am.
Doesn't sound like a hell of a lot of devotion for me because all the healing didn't help him. He died on March 28th.
We never expected him to die. We thought he would be back in the office.
He did die.
Yes, ma'am.
On March 28th. What took you 7 days to travel from Chicago to Los Angeles?
I had to make arrangements to take care of my apartment and as well as my birds. And I also had business arrangements to make.
And what did you do when you got here on the 4th of April?
Went to the office building in order to start taking inventory of the office.
Okay. Now, at that point, had you had anything from the probate court giving you the authority to go in there?
Ma'am, the estate was under $100,000. No court supervision was necessary according to probate code 13100, etc.
Were you armed with that information when you came to the office?
No, ma'am.
So, Mr. Gonzalez wouldn't let you in?
No, ma'am.
Good. That's exactly what he should have done. Should not have let you in to go through anything. He doesn't know who you are. As far as he knows, there's a will, and he left all of his estate and all of his property to Goodwill. He doesn't know if you have authority. You may be his only child, but he may not have liked you. So he could have left all of his property to somebody else. Isn't that right?
My father died intestate.
He doesn't know that. So you went there on the 4th of April, and he said you can't come in. What happened next?
Mr. Gonzalez had been apprised by a volunteer that worked for my father as a volunteer.
Don't tell me what he had been apprised in hearsay conversation with anybody. He has a tenant who died, leaving property in their office, and he is liable if, perchance, they find a will of your father's that says, I leave all of my possessions to whatever medical school he went to, whatever university he went to. And you go in there and you say, I'm his daughter, I'm entitled to everything. How does he know that you're entitled to anything? You had nothing from a court?
At that time, no.
Fine. When did you go back?
I received a phone call on April 13th, Saturday, from Mr. Gonzalez telling me that he was putting all of my father's possessions, office possessions, into storage, which I would be responsible for paying for. And if any of the movers hurt themselves, I would also be responsible for their medical bills. Mr. Gonzalez,
He can't do that either.
Mr. Gonzalez...
If he did it, he can't do that either, because you're not responsible for anything. You're not responsible financially for anything, and you're not responsible if his movers get hurt schlepping the files. So if he said that to you, he's 100% wrong. So far, I got a lot of lawyers here. Go ahead. So that's April 13th.
I was also told that my father's files, patient files, needed to be put into storage for 7 years by another practitioner. He gave me the names and phone numbers of 2 chiropractors who would be happy to store my father's files.
Fine. So you said no, thank you.
The files are the heart of the business. They're a sacred trust, and they are saleable items.
Ms. Hertz, let's get on with it. Stop with, you're pulling at my heartstrings. It took you 7 days to get from Chicago to Los Angeles. was more important to take care of your birds than it was to come to say goodbye to your father. I have very little sympathy for that.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
My father overpaid on his last month's rent.
Get on with it. That's not what you're suing him for. You keep making things up as you're going along, madam.
And later today,
I don't know how long you've been drinking, but I would guess, based upon my experience in the court, that you've been drinking a long time. That's not the way to bring up a child.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Marcia Hertz says when her father passed away, building manager Miguel Gonzalez kept her from retrieving files from his business.
April 13th, he said he's putting the stuff in storage. What did you do next?
On the 15th, I arrived at the office early in the morning to make sure that the removal of my father's property did not happen. 7:30 in the morning, Mr. Gonzalez knocked on the door wanting me to sign a piece of paper. I refused to do so because there were no copies of it. He told me that he would make copies of this paper after I had signed it. And I said, no, make copies first. He wouldn't tell me what it was. Next thing he said was that he was going to call the LAPD to have me arrested for trespassing. They arrived 5 minutes later
and
threatened me with arrest that if I did not sign this piece of paper. I was bullied and coerced into signing it. It turned out to be a release of tenancy by April 30th, which gave me the entire month of April to remove my father's possessions, not by April 15th.
Okay, so?
Well, the tenant paid the rent for the month of April, which gave me until April 30th.
Well, that's what that says. You have until the 30th.
Yes, ma'am.
So?
And I did not have a problem with that.
So?
However, in here, because of the if I may continue?
Go ahead.
Because of the termination of the month-to-month tenancy is terminated by the death of the tenant, landlord is permitting Marcy Hertz, on behalf of and as representative of the estate of Albert Hertz, hereinafter Marcy Hertz, to enter the property for the sole purpose of removing possessions of the tenant. Marcy Hertz takes full responsibility for all property removed from the premises, including but not limited to the chiropractic records contained herein.
Miss Hertz, I don't get the problem, madam. I don't get the problem at all. You signed something that says you take full responsibility for the files as a representative of the estate, even though he doesn't know you're a representative of the estate. And you have to be out of the premises by April 30th.
Which is the reason I was here. However, on April 13th, he threatened to remove the contents of Dad's office.
So? He didn't.
No, he did not.
So what? What are you here for?
I'm here because my father overpaid on his last month's rent back in 1987.
That's not part of your claim. That's not part of your claim.
All right.
Then what are you here for?
I'm here because the overpayment was more than 50% of what his current rent was, which would have given me into the middle of May to sell the files.
Get on with it. That's not what you're suing him for. You keep making things up as you're going along, madam.
Excuse me, ma'am. The value of the files decreases every day. The goodwill.
So?
The files are now worthless.
Listen, you were able to get the files as of April 15th. Is that right?
Ma'am, I was able to gain entrance to the office.
You were able, once you signed that document, assuming responsibility, on April 15th, you were able to get the files. Is that right or wrong?
You are correct, ma'am.
Good. And you say that because you weren't able to go and get the files either on the 4th or the 8th, the value of the files diminished because it took an extra week. Is that right?
I had to find another chiropractor to take my father's practice over.
Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am. Each day of his passing, the files diminish.
Then, Miss Hertz, I would have suggested that if that's the way you felt, you should have made it your business to get there a week earlier after your father died. Because if you had gotten there on the 28th, you would have resolved this matter by the 8th of April.
No,
but you chose to take care of your birds instead of coming and taking care of your father's business, and you want somebody else to be responsible for that. It's ludicrous. Your case is dismissed. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
She was going around my neighborhood with my peers saying that I am mafia connected, that I have LAPD people in my pocket, intimidating her.
I knew very well who I was before I even came down. We were in telephone contact prior to my coming down here.
Fix yourself. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, Your Honor.
This is case number 78 on the calendar in the matter of Bartos versus Jones. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Sir, have a seat.
Miss Bartos, You and the defendant had been good friends for a very long time. How many years had you been good friends?
Between 4 to 5.
And you claim a series of loans to him.
Yes.
Mr. Jones, while acknowledging that you gave him some money, is that right, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
And while acknowledging that you purchased some things for him, said everything that you gave him were gifts, and that you're suing him for a reason that he's going to tell me later. So, when did you make the first loan to him?
February 28th of this year.
Under what circumstances?
That he was to pay me back as soon as possible.
Now, tell me what he said, what you said, what it was for, whether it was cash. Tell me what it was.
Okay, I received a settlement check for an automobile accident, and I picked him up from his home, and he said he had to get some clothes. We got the clothes, shoes, all that stuff, and he stepped outside and he asked me if I could pay for it for him.
Is that what he said? Could you pay for this for me?
If I could do him a large favor.
Yeah.
And if I could pay for it for him.
Why did he want you to pay for it for him?
I do not know.
So what did
Obviously,
you say?
he didn't have money.
So what did you say to him?
I said, under the terms you pay me back. He was my best friend.
Well, you didn't say to him, under the terms you'll pay me back. That doesn't sound like something that comes out of your mouth, Ms. Bartow. So you have to be very careful about what you say to me, because I can usually tell the truth.
Okay.
Okay? He said, he stepped outside and he said, can you pay for this or can you take care of this? You must have said, why? How do you go shopping without money? I mean, that would be normal, even with your best friend. So let's hear what transpired in February of '02. Well, he came outside and said, can you take care of this for me? And what did you say to him?
Sure.
You said, sure.
Under the terms that he was to pay me back, it was a loan. He said, could you loan this to me?
Now you gave me two different scenarios. You said, can you take care of this for me? Can you pay for this for me? And now you say, could you loan me the money to pay for this? Which one was it?
It was a loan. It was a loan.
I'm looking for the words, Miss Bartow, so you're not cooperating with me. You're looking to the end result. I am looking for the words that were exchanged. Are you following me?
Yes.
Maybe I'm not going to get the answer from you, so forget it. Mr. Jones, you remember February 28th of this year?
Yes, ma'am.
Tell me about the clothes shopping.
I had to get some new clothes. Stephanie was a good friend. She wanted to go with me, so we went down to the shop. I actually left my wallet at home that day. That's why I forgot, just running out, getting everything together. She was on her way.
So you left your wallet at home?
Yeah. That's why I asked her.
What was in your wallet?
My credit card.
So you
some
were
money.
intending to pay for the clothes with your credit card?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, go ahead.
You know, I went to look for my wallet to pay. Didn't have it on me. I said, Stephanie, can you pay for it? She said, sure. And that was that.
Well, did you mention to Stephanie, because you must have mentioned to Stephanie, can you pay for this for me? I left my wallet home.
Mm-hmm.
Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Is that your story?
Yes, ma'am.
Does that sound familiar to you?
No, it doesn't.
I want to tell you something. She is so fixed at getting her loan across that she's not paying attention. Maybe she just don't get it. But according to you, that's what happened, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now, when was the second money that you gave him, madam?
March 8th.
Go ahead.
And he had phoned me a couple days prior. He said that he was in financial debt. He couldn't make rent. He didn't get his promotion through his job. And he asked me if he could borrow some more money. And he said that his only other means was to do something illegal. And I told him, I said, you have a 1-year-old son. You don't want to jeopardize that. And so he came up to my job on March 8th, and I loaned him $1,000 so he would not come up here to L.A. to do something illegal.
How much were his clothes?
A total of $445.47.
So tell me about the $1,000, sir.
I had talked to Stephanie a couple of days prior, and I told her that, you know, I was trying to get a couple of things moving quickly.
Well, I don't know what that means. You're
Well,
in the moving
I was
business?
trying to get a couple of, you know, things that I wanted, and I didn't get my promotion.
I don't understand what you mean. You're trying to get a couple of things that you wanted. What does that mean?
Like, I wanted to buy a new outfit. I wanted to get some stuff. I wanted to just buy some more stuff that I wanted personally for myself. You know, and then I got hit with having to take care of rent at the same time, and I didn't manage it correctly. I had told Stephanie what was going on within my life and that I had a a deal going down, which was not a very honest deal, but I had a deal going down that was roughly about $2,000. And she said, you know what, hey, you know, I'm your friend, I don't want you to do that, you know, I don't want you to put your life in jeopardy. You know, whenever you need something, you could call upon me. You know, I told her, I was like, hey, you know, I don't know when I'll be able to, you know, have this money again. I don't know what, you know.
What does that mean? I don't know
I'm
when
sorry.
I'll be able to
I'm
have
sorry.
this money again. What does that mean, Mr. Jones?
I don't know when.
You don't know when you'll be able to pay her back. Is
Yeah,
that what
for
you
that.
meant? Is that what you said?
Yes, ma'am.
I don't know when I'll be able to pay you back.
Right.
And what did she say?
She said, don't worry about it. You know, you're my friend. Here you go. And she just wrote the check to me.
Okay. And what was the next amount of money that you claimed that you loaned to him, Miss Bartos?
The next week, we went to tattoo parlor, and he wanted to get a tattoo on his right upper arm with his son's name, and I paid for it under the pretenses he was to pay me back.
Okay, Miss Bartos, that I'm not even entertaining. The tattoo. Do you understand? If you're dumb enough
I'm not
to
done.
give, yes you are.
No,
if you're dumb enough to give him money for clothes, if you're dumb enough to give him $1,000 because you say he was going to be evicted, then you don't indulge him in paying for a tattoo with his son's name on it and expect to get paid. Not from me, because that's the height of stupidity.
But he was to pay me back with his income tax return.
I don't care what you say. I don't believe that. Who is this person?
My father.
Even your father understands that.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
The tattoo was already starting.
So what? What's your son's name?
Moses the Fifth.
So then you can have Mo.
And later today,
My tools.
I'm not interested in your tools that were in the car, sir. Mr. Green, do I look stupid to you?
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Stephanie Bartos says former friend Moses Jones owes for several unpaid loans. Moses says he never agreed to pay.
Somebody has already borrowed almost $1,500 from you because he needed it. The first thing he needed were clothes. The second thing he needed was money so that he wouldn't get evicted. Somebody who needs money so that they're not going to get evicted doesn't spend a couple of $100s to get a tattoo on his arm. And if you are not stupid, then you say to him, Mr. Jones, you have a lot of debt. You don't need a tattoo on your arm.
Well,
so I'm not paying for that, whether you say you're going to pay me back or not pay me back.
Well, initially, I went there to get a tattoo on my back shoulder of my daughter's name. And he sat down, and the tattoo was already started. He didn't have the money, so I went with his friend to go get the money. The tattoo was already starting.
So what? What's your son's name?
Moses the Fifth.
So then you can have Mo. You understand what I'm saying?
Order.
Okay. Shh. Then you find out, because you called him, and you find out that he got married. Is that right?
Yes.
Because that's his defense. He says, you're really mad about all these things because this very best friend of yours had gotten married 2 years before and didn't tell you. Right? Mm-hmm. How come you neglected to tell your very good friend that you got married, sir?
Well, that's a weird situation that happened.
That's not weird.
It is weird if I were to get into the details about it. But, you know, it was a situation that I wasn't very comfortable with, and I was in the process of a separation. That's why...
Well, you weren't separated at the time you got married.
No, I wasn't.
Right.
But
So
when I got married, me and her weren't even really talking. There was a 2-year gap where we didn't even talk.
but then somebody picked up a phone, somebody met in the street and whatever, and you say, hi, how you doing? No, good. How are you doing? Anything happening? What's doing? Yes, I got married.
Right.
But you didn't say that.
No, because...
Did you say that? Did you tell her you were married when you took the $1,000 from her?
No, I was...
Were you living with your wife at the time?
No, I wasn't.
Yes, he was. Yes, he was. And I was there.
Hmm?
I've gone there before.
All right, Ms. Bartos, despite yourself and in spite of yourself and your testimony, Mr. Jones has cooked his own goose. Because Mr. Jones testified that he was intending to pay for his... Stop smiling, it's irritating. Mr. Jones has indicated that he was intending to pay for these clothes, but for the event of the lost wallet or the left home wallet, he was going to pay for his clothes. So what, you keep shaking your head no. You're so thick and so fixed in your position that you're not paying attention.
I'm paying attention.
Then try to pay attention. Which indicates that he had intended to pay for his own clothes, which would have been very natural for him to say, I left my wallet home, could you cover this for me, and I'll pay you back. Not I left my wallet at home, so would you buy these clothes for me because I don't have my wallet, and I'm not going to pay you back. That's what he said, because he's not too swift. And as we come to the $1,000, I also believe, based upon his testimony, that he led you to believe that he was going to pay you back at some unspecified time. Because according to him, he said, I don't know when I can pay you back. And you said, that's all right. But the intention was to pay you back. And that's what you relied on. So I'm entering a judgment in your favor for those two loans. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,445. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
He lied to me. He had been married, never told me.
You know, I don't feel it was a betrayal just because I didn't tell her.
He stood up there and blatantly lied.
21-year-old customer service manager Ryan Sells is suing his co-worker, 18-year-old inventory clerk Kristen Ballou, for having him falsely arrested for a sexual assault. Kristen says Ryan fondled her at work.
Order. All rise. Your Honor, this is case number 69 on the calendar in the matter of Sells versus Ballou. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Folks, have seats, please.
Mr. Sells, it is your claim that the defendant filed false charges of sexual assault against you. And ultimately, those charges were dismissed. I assume they were dismissed after a trial. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
And you want to be compensated?
Yes, ma'am.
Tell me how you know the defendant.
The defendant is an employee that I work with. I am her supervisor.
And how long have you worked together?
I believe about a year.
Now, according to your complaint, something happened with the defendant's boyfriend that sort of precipitated all of this. You want to tell me about that?
Yes, ma'am. Beginning in February, Mr. Alphen, the defendant's boyfriend, began leaving threatening notes on my car. I reported them to the police. The first time they said it could be just a mistake, so they wanted to let it go. If it happened again, to come see them. So I did. It happened again in March. I got another threatening note. I had the police come down.
Do you have those notes?
I do have part of one. It was raining outside, so it got pretty destroyed. The other one is at the police station as evidence. So I'm going to give this to the judge, please.
Tell me my job.
Okay. How many notes in total did the defendant's boyfriend leave on your car?
I received 2. After the second one, I went to the police again, and they came to my place of employment. We watched the surveillance tapes to discover that it was Mr. Alphen.
You didn't know who it was at the time?
Not until I saw the surveillance tapes.
Go ahead.
When they found out who it was, they asked me what I wanted to do about it, and I said I would like to file a complaint. I filed a complaint on the 23rd, and they said they were going to talk to him or have him arrested because he had admitted to it because they had talked to him previously. He was arrested, and then an hour after he was arrested, Miss Ballou went to the police and told them that I had sexually assaulted her between the dates of March 1st through March 4th. She couldn't remember when. However, on the citation when I was arrested, she narrowed it down to March 4th at 12:30 p.m.
Do you have those complaints?
Yes.
I'd like to see them, please.
Also, on the time that she claims it occurred, Miss Ballou claims it occurred at 12:30 p.m. March 4th. However, I have coinciding records that show Miss Ballou did not clock in for work until 12:57 that day. There would be no possible way in that 27 minutes I could do an override or a supervisor function for her if she had not even gotten a register yet or been at work.
So what happened when you were arrested, Mr. Sells? You were arrested, ultimately, I assume you had to hire a lawyer, you were given a lawyer?
Yes, I did.
You hired a lawyer?
Yes, I did.
What happened with the boyfriend's case?
We were both given the date of May 2nd. However, I moved it up to 4/18 because I felt I wanted to get it over with. The situation was bad enough. I didn't need to let it drag out. Mr. Alphen pleaded guilty to harassment and was given a year's probation, the same date that my trial was.
What happened at the end of the trial?
My lawyer kept pushing that we had surveillance tapes and videotapes that had to be shown if they wanted to prove, you know, for beyond a shadow of a doubt that I was not guilty. The judge didn't want to watch the tapes, so he appointed the prosecutor and my attorney to watch the tapes. They watched the tapes. A few days later, the judge ruled not guilty.
Did the prosecutor agree that that was...
Yes,
move
yes,
to
he
dismiss
agreed.
the charges?
Yes, the judge, the prosecutor, and my lawyer were all together in it.
Okay. Now, I've read in your complaint, sir, that you had had a conversation with Miss Bellew, either you or your lawyer, prior to the date set for both her boyfriend and you to appear in court with regard to dropping the charges. Can you
Yes,
tell me
ma'am.
about that conversation?
We were in court getting ready for my trial, and Miss Bellew's lawyer, attorney, came to my attorney and spoke with us about if I would drop the charges against Mr. Alphen, then they would drop the charges against me.
And you declined to do that?
Yes, I did, due to my innocence.
Were you suspended from your job for any period of time?
Yes, I was, ma'am.
For how long?
33 days.
You are now back at work?
Yes, ma'am.
What about the defendant?
She wasn't suspended. She is still employed.
All right, Miss Bellew, now I'll hear you.
Well, when I made the complaint to the officer in the report, it was not the 4th. It was sometime the first week, the 1st or the 4th.
What date did you start to work at the company together with the plaintiff?
The beginning of August, I would say.
Of 2001?
Yes.
And Mr. Sells was your supervisor all that time?
Yes.
And was this gentleman your boyfriend all of that time? Yes. Now, I want you to stand up, sir. Your last name is?
Alphen.
Mr. Alphen, why were you leaving notes on the plaintiff's car?
Because my girlfriend, then my fiance now, is being sexually assaulted at work.
No, sexually assaulted is a conclusion. What did your girlfriend tell you that inspired you to leave these notes?
The plaintiff, Ryan, a person has their personal space, and at work he would stand very close to Kristen, you know, talk to her in a flirty manner, try to rub her shoulders, and she would tell him to stop, and he would just blow it off like she was joking. He would try to hug her all the time and put his hands toward her breasts, and yes, ma'am.
That you're making up?
No, ma'am.
That you're making up as you're going? Keep going.
And finally, there was an incident at work where he got very close to her, rubbed himself on her.
No, that happened in March, sir. That happened after you wrote the notes on his car.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, after you left these notes on his car, which you, I assume, did not sign.
No, Your Honor.
What did you say in the notes, sir?
I called him a little bitch.
You called him a little bitch?
Yes, ma'am. I don't know
Now,
if
why would you call him a little bitch? Please.
Because I was very angry.
A little bitch is not something that you call a man. You may call a man a... But you don't call a man a little bitch. Now, why did you call him a little bitch, sir?
Because I was very angry at him for touching my fiance, ma'am.
You're not answering my question.
Well,
Officer Byrd understands my question. You call a woman a bitch. You don't call a man a little bitch. And you know that. So why would you call him a little bitch?
Because I was angry, Your Honor.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You fudged it a little bit with the, he rubbed up against me, and he touched my back.
If Brian would not have done anything to me, there would have been no more.
I don't believe he did anything to you, madam. I think you're full of baloney.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Ryan Sells claims he was arrested when co-worker Christine Bellew made false allegations of sexual assault. Ryan says she was looking for revenge.
Now, Miss Bellew, is it just coincidental, madam, that you filed a formal complaint for the first time for incidents that had occurred months before, 1 hour after your boyfriend was arrested? Is that just coincidental? Is that what you want me to believe?
No, I had...
It was on purpose?
Yes.
Okay. Now tell me, what inspired you 1 hour after your boyfriend was arrested to file this complaint?
Well, I had talked to management about it before, and they didn't seem to do anything. So the officer didn't cuff him or anything. He just came to our place of work and told him that both of us needed to meet him at the police station. So we went down there, and I told him everything that Mr. Sells has done to me, and he asked me if I would like to make a complaint, and I said yes. But that day, when we were at work, when I turned him into management for like the 5th time after they didn't do anything, he came back up to work after he
Do you have any copies of the reports that you made to management prior to March of 2002?
They didn't have me write a statement. They just talked.
And you didn't write a statement?
They did not
You
want...
did. No, you did not write a statement. You have the ability to write a statement.
I did write statements with one of my management.
Oh, let me see it.
I don't have them. They would not let us take anything out of...
Well, if you write a statement, an intelligent person keeps a copy. Go ahead.
Ryan came back up to work after he found out that I had turned him in, walked up to my register when I was checking people out, told me I was full in sexual harassment, all this was bull.
I believe that's true.
So...
I believe that's true.
I have...
Oh, I believe it. Let me see your proof.
That Ryan has done this to me and other women and that other people I've seen.
You want them?
I don't want letters. I don't know who the people are. I don't know if they're your friends. I don't know. Certainly your letter is self-serving.
One of the women that are on here is sitting right over there that states...
You have a letter from a woman who is sitting over here?
I have a letter from a woman that saw Mr. Sells, the way he acts sexually towards this woman sitting over here.
Oh, well, let me see. Don't tell me her name.
Excuse me, Your Honor. May I bring my witness over to speak with you?
Sure.
Thank you.
What's your name?
Lisa Volo.
Lisa, you're mentioned in this letter as someone who the plaintiff made sexual comments to. Never touching or anything else, but sexual comments to. Can you think of any of those comments?
No, he never has. And in fact, the Monday after Mr. Sells was arrested, I was called into the management's office. They wanted me to make a statement against Mr. Sells. Ms. Ballou said that I had witnessed the whole sexual assault. And at that time, I made a statement saying that I never witnessed anything and I never saw Mr. Sells.
How long have you been working at the same place as the plaintiff?
I've been working at this store for 9 months.
Have you ever seen Mr. Sells do anything of a sexual nature that was untoward physically to anyone?
No, ma'am, I've never.
And I want you to be honest with me about this. Have you ever heard him say anything, even in a joking manner, that might be construed as being inappropriate?
No, I have never.
Now, Mr. Rolfin, did your girlfriend and now fiancé ever say that she didn't like the way Mr. Sells was talking to her?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you ever go up to him and discuss it with him?
No, ma'am.
Why not?
Because I was very angry and I did not want to take any physical action against Mr. Sells.
That's not physical action.
Well,
That's not physical action. That's just saying, listen, you may think something is cute, but my girlfriend doesn't appreciate it. So I'd like you to not talk to her about anything other than being very professional, rather than writing these sick notes and leaving them on his car unsigned.
But if Ryan would not have done anything to me, there would have been no motive.
I don't believe he did anything to you, madam. I think you're full of baloney. I think maybe you didn't like the way he talked to you, but there isn't a chance in hell that he sexually assaulted you as you outlined in your papers. And what you did was your boyfriend got busted because he wrote nasty notes on the car, and this was your way of gaining leverage. Because if you would have said, well, he talked to me inappropriately, they would not have arrested him. They would not have arrested him. So you fudged it a little bit with the, he rubbed up against me and he touched my back. Now, your boyfriend has an interesting choice of words when he refers to the plaintiff. So he may not have liked him for a variety of reasons. But there is no question in my mind that you are full of it when you say that he physically touched you. So, he was out of work for 33 days. He hired a lawyer. The maximum he is suing for in the jurisdiction where you come from is $3,000.
Yes,
I believe you are entitled to every penny.
Thank
Judgment
you
for the
so
plaintiff.
much,
That's
Judge.
all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
And everyone knows that she lied and that I was totally innocent the whole time.
Ryan knows what he did and he should be punished, but he's not.
I never seen Ryan do anything, and I just knew she was lying.
Stay away from Ryan.
Miss Ballou put me through hell for nothing.
But she was not just a total innocent victim.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Hinkle versus Burkhardt. Step forward, please.
24-year-old teacher Tanya Hinkle is suing her ex-fiancé, construction worker Shane Burkhardt, for the cost of a reception hall and for the cost of a wedding dress.
Miss Hinkle, you and the defendant were engaged. He broke off the engagement according to your complaint. You want him to pay for some expenses that were incurred by you or your mother, down payment on a hall, dress, etc. And you want the paperwork on your engagement ring.
Yes.
What are you doing with the engagement ring?
I was going to try to sell it.
Why?
So that I could pay off the rest of the wedding, but I can't get the paperwork because the defendant won't give it to me.
Why should he give it to you? You're supposed to give the engagement ring back to him.
Yeah, well, he proposed to me and broke it off.
So what?
So I thought it was a gift.
No. An engagement ring is a ring given in contemplation of you two getting married. And if he broke it off, there must have been a reason that he had doubts. Even if he had no reason to have doubts, it was good that he decided to call it off before he married you, if he wasn't going to be a good husband. The ring goes back to him. There's no issue with regard to that. I mean, once you're married, and if you're divorced, well, then the contract has been fulfilled. You were married, the engagement ring stays with you. But before the wedding, it goes back to him. Where is it? Can I see it, please? It's lovely. Give it to him. You still paying it off?
Yes, ma'am.
Good. How much was it?
The total was $27.95, I think, was the total on it.
And if you go to sell it, how much do you think you're going to get for it?
I'm not sure. I haven't looked into it.
Maybe half.
Never tried, yeah. Possibly.
Maybe. You never get.
Possibly half, yeah.
Unless you're dealing with the Hope Diamond.
Right.
You know, they usually don't appreciate in value.
Right.
Everybody makes a profit. You go to sell it. Maybe you're lucky if you get half. So you're going to be out probably $1,400.
Right.
That's you on the negative side. And how much did you spend on the wedding so far?
$1146.92.
So you don't want to have to pay him any money, do you?
No.
Good. So we're going to call it even, and you're all going to go home, and you're going to say, lucky, we called it off when we should have. He lost $1,400 on the ring. You lost $1,100 on the wedding expenses. Goodbye and good luck. Thank you.
99 on the calendar in the matter of Jones versus Escada. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Folks, have a seat.
I'm really a little confused with this case, but we're going to make sense of it. Miss Jones, you're suing her because you say she filed false charges against you of hit and run.
Yes.
The hit and run was not against her person, but against a car that she was driving in.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes, that's correct.
There was an incident involving the defendant.
Yes, there was.
First, tell me when the incident happened.
The exact day, it was on or about May 1st.
Tell me about it.
I was moving back into my home, and
you were moving back into your home from where?
From a corporate leasing unit.
Okay.
I rented a 26-foot U-Haul truck. I asked the guy to help me move, and he knew the defendant's boyfriend.
Did you know this person?
Not personally, no.
How did you find this person?
Just through verbal acquaintance, just seeing him around town. He's a handyman.
What's his name?
Michael Alexander.
So you asked Michael if he would help you move?
Yes. He then got the two other guys and said, you know, they were good workers and they will also help because I had a lot of furniture.
Okay, so there were going to be 3 men.
3 men.
And you rented the U-Haul?
And I rented the U-Haul.
Where did you pick them up?
I picked them up on 3rd Street East in Lancaster, California at Michael's home.
What happened the second day?
The following day, we had agreed the previous night to meet back at Michael's house early in the morning. I did so. I arrived.
So you, again, went back to Michael's house to pick up the 3 guys?
To pick up the 3 guys. As the one of the guys was walking out, he was arguing with someone in the house. I asked him, was he okay? Did he need to stay back? He said, no, let's go. So all 4 of us got into the truck. I drove off. Went back to the house, unloaded the truck. Later on that day, I was going down Avenue K, headed westbound. He spotted his girlfriend.
Were the 3 men still in the truck?
The 3 men are in the truck. I'm driving down Avenue K, which is a main street. I'm heading westbound. He spotted his girlfriend, which apparently is a defendant.
Had you ever seen her before?
No.
Never laid eyes on her before that day? Go ahead.
And he makes a comment to another guy. He said, oh, there she goes. She's about to turn around. I quickly glanced in my rearview mirror. I didn't really see anything. A few seconds later, she was behind me on my left-hand side, honking her horn and motioning me to pull over.
What kind of car was she in?
A little blue Toyota Tercel, something compact and small.
Now, how was she telling you to pull over?
Honking her horn and motioning like this. And so then I asked the guy, I said, do you want me to pull over? He said, no, she just wants to argue, just keep going. So I did. A few seconds later, she's now on the right side of the truck.
She's on the passenger side of the truck?
On the passenger side of the truck. Okay, she just got over. She's doing the same thing. And I asked him again, I said, are you sure? He said, no, keep on, she'll eventually pass. And I said, okay, fine. So I keep driving. She was yelling and screaming.
What was she yelling?
She was yelling profanities at him.
At him, not at you?
Not at me, okay? Not at first. When she got closer to the window, though, because it was a long truck, when she got closer to the window, she did call me a B. But prior to that, she was, you know, on the side of the truck yelling and screaming at him, and they flipped it. I don't know. She flipped him off, and then he flipped her back off. So then they had a flipping off match, okay? And so I kept driving, and that was that. I moved all that day, you know, nothing. And the following day, I got a call from the Palmdale Sheriff's Department, said that they wanted to come look at the vehicle because they had been involved in a hit and run.
First of all, who was that guy who knew me?
Speak not until I speak to you. So it is your testimony
Yes.
that at no time did you ever hit her or hit her car?
Whatsoever.
Now, were you ever arrested?
No.
What happened?
The officer came to my house. He took a photograph of me. He told me to wait there at my house, that he was going to take the picture to her. If she verified that it was me, that he was going to come back and arrest me, for me not to go anywhere, to stay home that day. And I did. I was moving anyway. He never came back that day. I didn't hear anything, so I figured, okay, it's all taken care of. About a month later, I get a notice in the mail from the DMV stating that someone has inquired as to my driving record. Then I get a letter from the Sheriff's Department stating that I need to appear in court on charges of a hit and run and property damage. And
Do you have a copy of that letter?
I don't have a copy of the letter, but I was summoned to court.
You have a copy of the summons?
No, this is the court dates and the days I appeared in court.
Am I correct, Miss Jones, that the trial in this case commenced? Jury was selected.
Yes.
The first witness was called by the people.
Yes.
That was this lady right here.
Yes.
The second witness that was called was her mother. I assume that's you.
Mother-in-law.
You're not her mother, are you?
No.
Then be quiet. Then the matter was adjourned.
Yes.
And when everybody came back, the district attorney moved to dismiss the case.
Yes.
The district attorney moved before you even had an opportunity to put on your case. At the end of their case, the district attorney said, we move to dismiss in the furtherance of justice. Is that right?
Yes.
Now, this report says that they found on your U-Haul a smudge of blue paint that was consistent with the blue paint on the car, her car.
Yes.
Can you explain that to me?
Yes, I can. When she got on the right-hand side of the truck and she was driving and cussing and carrying on, she skinned the side of the truck. At 35 miles an hour, she claimed that I hit her, that she skid and collided with me at 35 miles an hour.
I read what she said.
Okay, these are the photos.
I read the exact statement she gave to the police, which contained no information about her boyfriend being in the car, anything like that. As far as her statement to the police was concerned, you were total strangers and you totaled her car, and so may I see the photographs that you have?
In the photographs, you will see her car. The hood of it is dented and the grille is missing, but she admitted in court that that was damage that was done previously. That was not damage caused by the U-Haul. At 35 miles an hour, she wouldn't have had a front.
Okay. Now I'd like to hear you.
On May 1st, I was coming from East Side. All of a sudden, I see this U-Haul truck approaching me on the opposite side. She turned to the left. I just put the steering wheel a little bit to the right. That's why she hit the car. I have my pictures right here. On the side, you can see that's when she hit it.
What's your boyfriend's name, or what was his name?
Gino.
Gino. Was Gino in the U-Haul?
No.
Really? She says there was a person driving in the car who you knew. Is that true?
No. I don't know what.
Really?
I don't know
Ms. Jones.
what she's talking about. I don't know who's this guy. No.
You know who that person is?
No. Even when I went to trial, they asked me. I didn't know him.
What about Michael?
Yes, I know. That's the guy I knew.
You have Michael's telephone number?
Yes, I do.
I'll take it.
One.
Now, why do you believe that the district attorney moved to dismiss the case after you and your mother testified?
I don't know.
You have no idea? All right. What's your name, by the way?
Gino.
Gino! You weren't in the U-Haul at that day, were you?
Nope. And I've been with her for 19 months.
Okay. Well, let me go see if I can get in touch with Michael.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I want to see this person and to identify me, and I'll do the same thing to him. I am not going to let these people lie. No.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Monica Jones says Martha Escada falsely accused her of hit and run. She claims Martha was trying to pull a scam.
Well, Michael isn't there, but maybe I can get some information from the district attorney. By the way, do you have any photographs of your cars?
Yes, and I have another question. Who's this guy that she's telling you that that guy knew me? I want to see this guy, and I want to see if he's telling the truth. I don't know this guy. I don't know what she's talking about. I mean, bring the guy, tell me to my face that he knew me, and I'll tell to his face that I knew him too.
The question is not whether this guy knew you, madam. The question is whether you pulled up on the side of her truck. There was somebody in the car that you wanted to talk to. She wouldn't pull over, and then you claimed that she hit your vehicle and took off. She says that the U-Haul, it did in fact come in contact with your car, but it was because you were driving like a nut. So
Nope.
I want to see what the district attorney
That
has to
is
say.
not
If
true.
I can find the district attorney's name here, Richard Quinones. Let's see if we can locate him. And you have the paperwork while we're getting, see if we can get the
I have the
number. You
police
have the
report right
paperwork?
here, and I have pictures on my car.
Okay, let me see.
Also wanted to show the character when the police went to serve her. She said they didn't live there, and they do.
They didn't live where?
Initially, when they went to serve her, and she said, "Oh, no one's here by that name. No one
Okay,
lives
bye.
here." And then the 10 days, my lost in pay, I brought my pay stub.
Just a second.
Okay.
I have to first find out whether these are false charges.
Okay.
That's what I have to find out.
Okay.
Do you understand?
Right. Yes, I do.
I mean, I wish I could get in touch with old Michael. That would make things easy. But since I can't, and you don't know the names of any of the other people.
No, I don't.
Okay. Oh, why don't you have a seat?
Is it okay if I...
Yes, is Mr. Quinones there, please?
Yo estaba discutiendo con ellos y yo me puse a un lado de ella.
Very good. Thank you very much, sir. I haven't been able to reach either the district attorney at this hour, nor Mr. Alexander, but I'm going to try.
Okay.
So I want you to just hang around, and I'll see you back here as soon as we are able to get either one of these two people who should be
I
able
just
to
gave him
give.
his cell phone number.
You have a cell phone number for whom?
Michael Alexander.
Oh, that's perfect. Maybe we can do that. Yes.
When they went to serve me to that address, I moved since December. So I don't live in that address anymore. I live in Lake LA.
It's not important. Why is that important?
Because she said that when they went looking for me at that address, somebody told the police officer that.
And I
no
told her
one.
that wasn't important.
Okay.
The only thing that's important to me is whether or not you knew or appeared to have known someone who was driving in the truck with her on that date. And I would be also curious to find out why the district attorney moved on their own motion to dismiss this case after you and your mother testified. So we'll see you back here. Okay. Thank you. Well, I managed to speak to the assistant district attorney who handled the case. And after speaking to the assistant district attorney, he did in fact confirm to me that after the two of you testified, he decided to go out and have a personal look at the car that you say was damaged by the plaintiff. And after he made this personal inspection of the car, he believed that the damages to the car were inconsistent with the testimony that the two of you gave in court before she even had to put on her case. So he doubted your word, especially yours. That's number one. Number two, we were in fact successful in securing Michael Alexander's presence here for the recall. So, Bert, I believe Mr. Alexander is outside. Would you bring him in, please?
Sure thing. Michael Alexander.
Would you swear the witness, please?
Sure thing. Sir, raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth in the matters before you?
Yes, sir.
State your name for the record.
Michael Alexander.
Mr. Alexander, prior to coming into court just now, did you speak to Miss Jones?
Yes.
Did she tell you the questions that she thought I would be asking you?
No.
Okay. You helped her move sometime in, when was it, May?
Yes.
And you had a couple of other people that you had gotten to help
Yes,
her?
ma'am.
Who were those other people?
Keith and Jose.
Do you know their last names?
No. I met them at labor.
There came a time that Miss Jones came to your house to pick you up.
Yes.
And these two other men were with you in the truck and you moved one day.
Yes.
Do you remember the second day of your move?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you remember an incident involving this young lady right here?
Yes.
Look at me and tell me what you remember.
Well, I remember that we was traveling down Avenue K after we dropped off her furniture at her house and was headed back to the storage. And Jose said, that's my girlfriend. And I seen her throw a U-turn.
Jose, put your hand down. Jose said, that's my girlfriend.
Yes.
Where was she when he said, that's my girlfriend?
She was headed east coming down Avenue K.
And what happened next?
She threw a U-turn and she came up on the U-Haul and she was driving all erratic and fast. She was flashing her lights and blowing her horn and doing hand signals up out the window. And
Did Jose say anything to her?
he said, well, she asked him, do you want me to pull over? And he said, no, don't stop. She just wanted to argue. And so we kept going.
Did you see Jose after the move? Have you seen him since?
No.
Have not?
No, ma'am.
Is there any question in your mind that this was the young lady in the car?
No.
Look at me. What color car was she driving?
Blue.
You sure about that?
Yes.
Okay. If you have any questions for Mr. Alexander, you can ask me and I will ask him.
Okay. Who is this guy, Jose? I don't know nobody by that name, Jose. And I'm not going to let these people get away with it because they're lying. No. I want to see this person and to identify me, and I'll do the same thing to him. I am not going to let these people lie. No.
Miss Jones, I've been involved in the criminal justice system for a very long time. And I'll tell you right now, very rarely does a district attorney who takes a case to trial, impanels a jury of 12 people, wastes court time, expends time in preparing a case. Very rarely does a district attorney stand up at the end of their case and say, we don't believe our witnesses to the extent that we're moving to dismiss this case because we don't even want it to go any further. I mean, maybe on one hand I can remember that amount of time. This district attorney didn't believe you, didn't believe your mother about what happened. And I don't know who Jose is, but I certainly see the pictures of your car, and I've listened to her testify. I believe her. That's all I have to believe. I believe that you were having some sort of an argument with a guy who was in that U-Haul, and you were behaving erratically. She wouldn't pull over. You got ticked off. You called, and I believe that there was contact with the U-Haul. There's no question in my mind that there was contact with the U-Haul. It was your fault. And maybe you thought you could make a couple of bucks. No. That's what I think. That's what I think. And the fact that you called the police. Have you ever been incarcerated before, Miss Jones?
No.
What kind of work do you do?
I'm an accountant.
I think that not only did you cause her trouble, because I looked at how many times she had to appear in court based upon your phone call to the police that was fraudulent. She had to appear in court. She had to be embarrassed. There's a certain embarrassment about it. When it was your fault and you lied. And she's entitled to what she's asking for, which is $5,000. And I'm entering a judgment for that. $5,000 for the plaintiff. That's all. Step back.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of King, Lentz, Newell, Cloje versus Conover. Step forward, please.
College students Christina King, Erica Lentz, Anna Newell, and Kelly Kaloje are suing their former roommate, 19-year-old student Michael Conover, for breaking a lease. Michael says he never signed a lease.
All right, Miss King, you and your 3 co-plaintiffs were in college. You got an apartment, the 4 of you, and you agreed, according to you, to have the defendant as your 5th roommate. Is that right?
That's correct.
The 4 of you signed a lease. Is that right?
Yes.
The defendant did not sign the lease. Is that correct?
That's correct.
So the 4 of you had agreed to share this apartment before the defendant came into the picture.
That's correct.
According to you, the defendant stayed until Thanksgiving when he unceremoniously left, leaving a mess, leaving the heat turned up, leaving beer cans all over, whatever. He left a mess. He gave you no notice. You want him to pay his share of the 5th of the rent for the entire duration of the lease, which is 1 year.
Correct.
And utility bills, etc. That's what your lawsuit is.
Yes.
The defendant says he was never on the lease and you were rude to his girlfriend. So that's why he moved out, and if you hadn't been rude, then he would have stayed. That's your defense, right?
Correct.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay. Why did not the defendant sign the lease?
Well, upon contacting...
Fast.
Okay. We contacted him. We told him what the lease was, a year long. We told him he had to go to the office and sign the lease.
But he never did.
He never did.
What'd you let him move in for?
He told us that he would.
But he didn't.
Correct.
And he lived there the entire month of September?
Yes, paid rent, paid utilities.
Entire month of September, entire month of October, and part of November, and you never saw to it that he signed the lease?
He told us that he had taken care of it.
Did you go down and make sure that he took care of it?
Well, the complex told us within the first month, Michael needs to go down and sign the lease. Okay, he didn't sign the lease. We didn't know that. But
okay. Now, ladies, after he moved out, what did you do to try to replace him as a roommate?
We tried to, we couldn't replace him because his stuff is still in his bedroom. He's got
throw it in the garbage.
We didn't know legally if that was okay because...
I'm telling you, why didn't you pick up your stuff?
I didn't have, all I had was a hatchback and another car to move my stuff. I have
Just a second. Are you telling me that your stuff is still in your room?
I have my bed frame and mattresses, yes.
Oh, sir, then you have to pay rent. What is wrong with you, sir? You move out, and you have to put the apartment in a position where they can at least try to bring down their damages by trying to rent it. You're telling me that you didn't move your stuff because you have a small car?
No,
Is that what you're telling me?
No.
Well, why didn't you move your bedroom set out of there and your furniture?
I moved as much stuff as I could on the day that I moved out, but the reason I didn't get the furniture is because, like, I didn't have the vehicle to get it transported, like, to take it to my new apartment. I didn't want to come back while they were there because I didn't want there to be a confrontation. I didn't want there to be any trouble. So, like, and then I found out that they were suing me, so I definitely didn't want to go in there without anybody's permission to take the stuff. I didn't want to get any more trouble than I already
When
was.
did you ask if you could get your stuff out?
I didn't ask anybody. And I never
So
asked.
then you never asked anybody. So
No.
what you're telling me is you didn't move your stuff out when you moved out because you didn't have a big enough car.
Right.
Jerk. You moved out in November. Did you pay November's share of your rent?
Yes, ma'am.
Did he pay November's share of his rent?
he paid November, yet he still has an August rent that he did not pay. He had a bounce check that he tried to pay. We have.
Did he pay August rent?
No.
So he's behind 1 month.
Right.
So far.
December.
Until the time that he moved out.
Correct.
Okay. How much was his share of the rent?
$220 plus.
Is that correct, sir?
Yes.
$220. November you paid.
Yes.
You didn't pay December. Is that right?
No, I did not.
And your stuff is, your junk is still there.
Yeah.
Your stuff is still there. January, is that right?
Yes.
Now, let's get into February. Have you tried to look for another roommate?
Well, the way our semester system works, we feel that it's impossible now to get a lease because of the semester has already started. People have already signed leases.
We have contacted our apartment complex. They said that every now and then they'll get people who want to sublease for a semester and a summer. We've contacted them, told them if anyone gets in contact with them to let us know, but so far they've had nothing.
Okay.
And Your Honor, we physically can't move his stuff. His
Oh,
bedroom
no,
stuff.
I'm going to take care of that right now. Okay. Okay? Thank you. Okay, so this is what we're going to do. I'm going to make this very, very fast. Within 3 days, sir, you are to get an appropriate van at exactly noon.
Okay.
72 hours from today, you are to be at the complex to get your furniture. If you are not there, I am going to draft an order that they can take your furniture and donate it to Salvation Army. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you understand? Yes. Donate it to Salvation Army, give it away, throw it out on the street, call garbage. Anything that's there after 12 o'clock, 72 hours from today, is trash. Or sell it. Sell it. Do you understand? Now, I am giving you ladies rent for the month of August, his share, the month of December, do you understand? Yes. The month of January, the month of February, and the month of March. That gives you more than ample time to try to find somebody to fill in for his share of the rent. The fact that they were rude to you, sir, is meaningless to me. You had an obligation. And instead of sitting down like a human being and saying, listen, this is not working out, let's try to find a way to resolve this, you just had a party over Thanksgiving and moved out unceremoniously. That's not the way adults behave. And according to you, you moved into a new apartment, which means that you had been contemplating that for at least more than 72 hours if you found a new apartment. Are you living in the new apartment alone?
No.
Who are you living there with?
With my best friend from back home and his girlfriend.
And what about your girlfriend?
She lives in the villas a couple doors down from where I used to live with them.
Oh, okay, good. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,100. And in addition, the court will draft the order. You have 72 hours to get out your junk. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Your Honor, this is case number 471 on the calendar in the matter of Hames versus Stradley.
Thank you very much, Bert.
You're quite welcome, Judge. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Gentlemen, have seats.
Ms. Hames, I've read your complaint very carefully, and it is your claim that the defendant assaulted you at a friend's house. You want to be paid for both your medical expenses as well as your lost wages and your pain and suffering. The defendant says that while she did hit you, you were the aggressor. All right. When did this happen?
This happened on Thanksgiving night.
Where?
At my girlfriend's house.
All right. And tell me what happened.
When I got there, my girlfriend was standing over by the Christmas tree, and I went over there to hug her and wish her happy Thanksgiving. Lori, at the time, was sitting on the floor down there, and she yelled at me very rudely like and says, "Can you put your cigarette out? My baby's in here." And I turned my head like this, and I said, "No."
Now, did you know the defendant before this incident occurred?
I've known Jessie, my girlfriend, since 1979. And I met Lori probably about a year or so ago.
Okay. So you turned around and said no when she asked you to put the cigarette out.
That's correct.
And you continued to talk to your friend.
Talk to my friend.
What happened next?
Then I kind of like just went and turned my head like this, and all of a sudden I saw this thing coming, which I was told was this. And it came at me right here, and my glasses flew one direction, and I came towards her to keep her from hitting me again. So me and her fell to the floor. Now, because she hit me and caught me off guard, I never got to see what she hit me with.
Do you have a witness here who saw what you were hit with?
Yes, I have my witness.
Step up, please. Tell me your name, sir.
Conrad Void, V-O-I-D.
Mr. Void, were you present on Thanksgiving evening?
Yes, we walked into the door like simultaneously, and it all happened so fast. The young lady right here was sitting on the floor, and she got up, she mentioned about the cigarette, and Brenda said no. And then she went back talking to Jessie, and she got up as if she was leaving, but when she walked, she popped her.
And did you see what she hit her with?
It appeared to be like a kid's guitar. It had like a handle on it.
So it wasn't this item?
It was something like this, but I thought I seen a longer handle.
But it was clearly an object, not her hand.
It's an object, right.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Void. Have a seat. What happened after you were hit?
After I was hit, then Conrad grabbed me and held me in another room, and Lori, someone grabbed her, and she left.
Did you go to the hospital?
I went to the emergency room because I work at the hospital. I went to the emergency room after I got off from work 3 o'clock in the morning.
What kind of injury did you sustain?
She said it was concussion, so she gave me 800 milligrams.
Do you have a report?
Yes, I do.
I'd like to see it, please. So there was bleeding in the area?
Yes, yes.
Underneath the skin?
Yes.
All right, Mr. Adley, let me hear your version of the events.
It was Thanksgiving Day. I was over at my boyfriend's mother's house. I was sitting on the floor. We had been over there all day. We were watching football and, had a very nice family Thanksgiving dinner. And Brenda knocks on the door, and, the door's answered, and she comes in, and she knows that we do not allow smoking around our child.
Don't tell me what she knows. You don't know what she knows.
Okay, sorry. So, we don't allow smoking around our child. Our daughter was in the house. She walks in with a cigarette, and I nicely asked her, I said, can you extinguish your cigarette, put it out, please? We're gathering our stuff and we'll leave. She said, no, I'm not putting my cigarette out. I just lit it, started cursing at me. I said, okay. And I turned, was walking over to the table to get my daughter's stuff, and I was hit by this part of her arm on the side of my head. Instinctively, this is my daughter's toy that I had in my hand. I had it by the handle, and I did hit her in the head with it. I was tackled across the living room, and my boyfriend, he intervened somewhere and pulled us apart after I was already on the floor, and I gathered the rest of my daughter's belongings. I apologized to Stan and Conrad, and my mother, boyfriend's mother, and my boyfriend, and I went home and called the police.
All right, let's go back for a moment.
Okay.
You were sitting on the floor.
Mm-hmm.
She said, I'm not putting out my cigarette.
Mm-hmm.
Ms. Hames says that she just continued to have her conversation, which, by the way, Ms. Hames, I think you were wrong. Wrong to say I won't put out my cigarette. It's Thanksgiving. You were asked to do something. Some people really object to smoke around babies. So if she said to you, would you put out your cigarette, she may have said it in a rude fashion, but it would have been better if you just put it out, because you can understand why she wouldn't want smoke around her baby, right?
Right.
These are two completely different stories, and I have to make a determination as to what is more logical. And to me, Miss Stradley, it sounds more logical to me that you got very angry when she said no and just ignored you, because that's what mothers do with their children. They are very protective. And when somebody says to you, no, I'm not going to put out my cigarette, or whatever else she said, and you thought someone was threatening the health of your baby, it is more logical that you attacked her first.
Can I add one thing, Your Honor?
Sure.
There was alcohol involved. Brenda and her boyfriends had been drinking when she showed up to the house.
That wouldn't make a difference.
Brenda and I have not gotten along ever.
So you don't get along. That's even more of a reason for you to have attacked her first, because she was just blowing you off. She just said, no, I'm not putting it out, and turned around to continue our conversation. That really annoyed you. So, Ms. Stradley, it is more logical, madam, that you got very angry with the plaintiff, who was rude. No question she was rude. What you should have done was say, okay, you're leaving, I'll take the cigarette outside, I'll put it away. You were rude. Do you understand that?
Yes.
That doesn't excuse the fact that you bopped her with an instrument that could have caused injury. The fact that it didn't cause a serious injury is just lucky. Now, why you went and called the police, I don't know.
Because I was struck first, Your Honor.
No. I think that you went and called the police because you were afraid she was going to.
She hit me, so I hit her back. Self-defense.
No, you didn't. You didn't hit her in self-defense. You hit her in anger because she was placing your child, according to you, at risk. You say it's very clear. Everybody knows that we don't allow smoking near our baby.
That's
you don't get along.
sense.
That's common sense. You're absolutely right.
Something that she lacks.
You're absolutely right. She should have put the cigarette out if you asked her. That doesn't give you permission to hit her, and you hit her first. No question, because she would have had no reason to hit you. She said no and continued to have a conversation with other people who were
The fact that
there.
she's a drunk and was drunk, no, she doesn't have a reason.
Even if she were drunk, she would not have a reason to hit you, because she had already given you her answer. And her answer was, no, I'm not putting out the cigarette.
You're the judge.
You're right.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Brenda Hames says she was assaulted by Laurie Stradley on Thanksgiving Day. Brenda claims when she refused to put out her cigarette, Laurie hit her in the face with a child's toy.
Ms. Stradley, it does not make sense for her to have assaulted you after she already gave you her answer. It does make sense, however, if you were so angry, and you were angry. You didn't get along with her, you have not gotten along with her. She not only disrespected you, but she was smoking around your child, which is something that you and your boyfriend believe is dangerous to the child. So she was placing your child in danger, and that's what mamas do when somebody places their child in danger. They strike out, which is exactly what you did. Now, Ms. Hames, you were not seriously injured. You went to work the next day. You had medical bills of $99, right?
Yes, I also has my glasses, which was also affected with that.
Well, how were they
had
affected?
to be fixed. I had to have my glasses repaired.
And how much was that?
The glasses, I paid $288.59 for those glasses.
Well, but they were fixed. So I want to see the bill for fixing them.
Okay, here we go, I'm sorry.
Is that the bill for fixing them?
Yes.
Can I add something else?
Sure.
Okay. My glasses were a little bent, too, and you take them into Walmart, you take them into Shopko, you take them into anywhere, and they adjust them for nothing. She's a joke.
Well, this is a bill that you're showing me from date of service, May 9th of 2000.
That's what I paid for the glasses.
I didn't ask you what you paid for the glasses, madam. You didn't replace the glasses. You had them fixed.
Right.
So how much did you pay to have them fixed?
They didn't charge me anything for them.
All right, and you're wearing them.
Right.
What else? Shh, please. What other expenses did you have?
Well, other than that doctor bill, that's all I've had. And, well, I'm still suffering from headaches on this left side of my head from where I was.
Try to quit drinking. Sorry.
See your temper?
Yeah, I have a temper.
That's what happened on Thanksgiving night. So watch
Do you
your temper.
want to take this so I don't use it again?
Watch your temper.
I'm being good.
$99 is what I have so far.
That's it, Judge.
The lawsuit seeks $4,000 in damages because in addition to everything else, you say you had lost wages, but you had no lost wages. You went to work the next day.
Well, when I got to work, I had such a bad headache, but I had to continue to work. After I got off work at 3 in the morning, Judge, I went down to the emergency room.
Fine. Did you go to work on the next regularly scheduled day that you had to go to work? So you had no lost wages. I'm awarding you on your claim 10 times the actual damages that you sustained. And the actual damages were $99. So I'm awarding you on your claim $990. And I think you really have to examine whether or not whether your words precipitated this altercation. That does not excuse the defendant's behavior. She is clearly a hot-tempered lady. Clearly. But just think for the future, if you're around somebody and somebody says, you're a smoker, I have my baby here, could you put out the cigarette? You do it. Because it's not a big deal. You got it?
Yes.
You're real lucky that she wasn't hurt anymore.
Oh, I almost wish she had.
You're very lucky, because if she had been further injured as a result of your hitting her with a dangerous instrument, you could have wound up in jail.
It's a CNC. It's not dangerous.
Anything is a dangerous instrument depending upon its use. A child's toy is... Hey, don't be stupid and laugh. Please don't be stupid and laugh. A child's toy is meant to be used by a child. Its purpose is not to be used as an instrumentality to an assault.
Unless you're hit
And that's
first.
what you did. And you were not assaulted first, madam. If you say that you were again, you've made it up in your own head.
But you weren't there, and I was hit first.
Never
I'm not gonna
happened.
argue.
It never happened.
Glad you think so.
I do, and I'm the only one that counts.
Like I said, glad you think so.
Step out.
It's a joke.
It is a joke.
She hit me first.
She told a lie.
She's just a drunk. I don't care. Doesn't matter to me.
Oh, my gosh, I'm a drunk, huh?
Mr. Stanger, you and the defendant, according to your complaint, lived in a relationship for about 6 years.
Yes.
And it is your claim that when the relationship terminated, the defendant was indebted to you for rent, some household bills, cell phone bill, and some money that you loaned to him in the amount of $5,000.
Correct.
The defendant says that you were, in fact, in a relationship, that there was a rather loose financial arrangement, and that there was never a complaint on your part while you were together that you were owed any money. Only after the relationship terminated was there a complaint. Is that your defense, sir?
Yes.
When did you begin living together?
The
What
later
year?
part of 98. I don't have the exact.
It was March of 98.
And when did you move out of the home?
I was thrown out of the home or asked to leave the home in October of this year.
Now, what do you claim is owed to you, and for what, Mr. Stanger?
What I have is he's not paid me rent in full at any time during the time.
Your Honor,
Shh, don't interrupt. Go ahead.
During the time of the end of last year up until the end of this past year.
And when for the first time did you complain about that?
I've complained about it over and over. I had bills to pay. I mean, I paid for everything.
So what did you do with the money?
Mr. Swanger, don't make this any more difficult, please.
I don't think I'm the one making it difficult.
Good. So that let's wait until it's your turn. When did he give you money, sir, during the course of this year?
Periodically, when his pay periods came around, I would ask him, you know, don't you have something you need to give me? You know, you owe me money.
Mm-hmm.
And he would say,
half the
well,
time you would come up.
I'm going to say it
after
again.
my
1,
check.
2, 3. Mr. Swanger, have I been respectful to you?
Yes, you have.
In a court, you're supposed to be respectful.
Mm-hmm.
There are certain rules. Plaintiff goes first. The defendant responds to questions. That's the way this works.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to have a discussion with Mr. Stanger, then you do it outside, you do it over coffee, you do it in the living room, you do it, you know, out in the street. That's a discussion. Then you talk back and forth. When you're here, I ask questions, you answer them. Unless I'm looking at you for an answer, do not speak. Do we understand each other?
Yes.
Good. Go ahead.
Just from what you've seen, that's his arrogance. Any time that I've ever tried to ask him to
Mr.
give
Stanger, his arrogance may be, but you lived with him. I'm not here to resolve that. Did you keep a register of how much he gave you each month? The answer is either yes or no.
No.
How do you know how much he owes you?
Well, at one point in time, we were both discussing what he felt he owed me, and he said about $6,500. I says, but still there's other monies that you owe me too, for bills that you didn't pay that you used in my name that I didn't know about. For instance, a Cellular One, he ran a bill up in his name for $600 and something, and then they turned it off, and he had one activated in my name, ran that up to over $1,000.
When did you find out about that, sir?
Well, it was 2000, actually.
And you didn't separate, actually, until December of 2001. Did you immediately close that account?
Actually, I received a phone call. It was a collection agency that I had owed this money. I had him, and I had filled out an affidavit, sent it to the company, stating that, you know, I was not responsible, I did not authorize it, I never signed anything for that phone.
But you could have proceeded further, sir. If he forged your name to documents to open up an account,
well, they
you
said
are not responsible.
They are holding me responsible.
Well, they can't hold you responsible, sir. If you wish to proceed with it criminally, they don't have to hold you responsible at all.
I have threatened him with that and told him that I would take it to the district attorney.
Well, listen, so do it.
He said that he, you know, he would pay it. And, you know, of course, I loved him, and I was stupid enough to believe in him, give him chance after chance, and, you know, putting me in harm's way continuously.
A year is a long chance, Mr. Stanger, so you didn't answer my question. Had they turned off that phone?
It was turned off, I guess, prior to when I found the bill and then when I received that phone call.
Now tell me about this loan that you claim, sir. What was it for?
Well, I loaned him monies to fix a vehicle that he had. So
when was that, Mr.
This was earlier in the year. I forget the date that I'd put down.
It was April of this year, or of 2001.
You know, he was just lying to me. He never paid me back on it. You know, and plus...
How much did you give him?
It was actually $498, but I took off some of on the amount because he had given me $35 or something. I didn't really keep track of that because there was just so many astronomical figures of how much he owes me. So I was just stupid for really putting up with this as long as I did.
Right. You were. Because if it was in April that you loaned him this money, that was after you found out about the telephone. Is that right?
I knew of the phone, yes, for a couple of years.
So you knew of the phone for a long time, and he hadn't paid you, according to you, any money on the phone. Is that right?
Right.
And yet you gave him more money. You know, for the time that you were together, this was like a marriage. That's what it was. And you anticipated that it would go on for a very long time. And that but for the fact that you separated, for whatever reason, you wouldn't be here today.
Correct.
Now, is there anything you want to say?
Oh, yeah.
Do you listen at all?
Yeah, I listen.
What did I just say?
That if there hadn't been a problem with monies in the relationship, we wouldn't be here to begin with.
No, that's not what I said at all. You have to listen carefully.
To me what it was you said?
I said, but for the fact that the relationship terminated, we would not be here today.
Oh, if we were still together.
Right.
Throughout the relationship, he threatened me, you owe me this, you owe me this, you owe me this. I didn't keep track of what it was that I had paid him. I did agree with him. I may owe you for past rents, but I pay for this, this, and this. I mean, in a relationship, are we keeping track here?
Well, then, since you choose to respond, Mr. Swanger, I'm going to ask you a few other questions, sir. Did there ever come a time when you sat down with the plaintiff and discussed what, in fact, you did owe him?
Oh, there were several times when it came to the point that he was trying to throw me out of the house and had everything I owed in the foyer.
Just a second.
Sure,
Mr.
there
Swanger,
was.
did there ever come a time when you came to a dollar figure?
Yes, there was.
And what was it that you agreed that you owed him?
It came up to over $5,000. It came up to like $8,000. But we also weren't taking into account the things that I had paid for as well either.
Oh, fine. All right. So, see if he.
I mean, when you're
in a
relationship,
I hope
and you should
you all
have,
understand. Okay.
Instead
so,
of
Mr.
paying
Swanger,
rent,
pay attention. You're speaking. You're not listening. So there came a time when you sat down and you agreed that it was over $6,500, closer to $8,000, but he wasn't taking into account what monies you had in fact paid him. Now, what monies do you claim that you had in fact paid him? Give me a rough estimate.
I didn't keep a receipt of it.
Now, give
when
me
you're
a
relationship, what the
Mr.
heck do you need to
Swanger,
keep a receipt
listen.
of it for?
Don't speak. What amount do you believe that you had paid him towards the money that you owed him?
I couldn't say. I didn't
Well, I
keep
want you
an
to try.
account.
No, listen to me. I want you to try, sir. What amount, if you were to be very generous with yourself, what amount do you believe that you gave him towards the money that you now agreed that you owed him?
I don't know. I wouldn't have a clue.
Well, now
All
I
I
want you
know
to
is
have a
when-
clue. I want you to have a clue, sir.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. John Stanger says ex-boyfriend Robbie Swanger owes for rent, bills, and loans. Robbie says he had no idea John was keeping a tab.
Now, you had some idea whether you did have an agreement that you would give him $500
I was paid
a month?
bi-weekly. There was times he would come up and he would get my whole paycheck. There were months when I would just pay bills and not give him $500. I mean, I wasn't keeping in account how much I had actually paid.
Were there months, Mr. Stanger, that the defendant paid some bills?
Yes,
The answer-
there were several months in between that, you know, he would pay and then months that he wouldn't pay. That's how we came up with the figure, and I figured it about a year's rent. There was no set date that it was absolutely 12 months consecutively. This is what we agreed upon and what we figured and what I figured. I didn't
He kept
write
track
it down.
of everything, but when I'd give him money, I didn't keep track of it.
Evidently didn't keep
when you're
track
married, you
because
don't
he
keep
doesn't
track.
have a
That was my
register.
bad business for not writing everything
Well,
down
then,
at the time.
Mr. Stanger, you can't expect a court to resolve the issue of a dollar amount of money unless you come to me equipped with information. I don't make a calculated guess about how much he owes you.
He's written me 2 checks, and with these 2 checks in the memo, he even puts 1/3 payment, recognizing that he did owe me this money.
Well, let me see the checks. 1/3 payment of what?
1/3 payment towards all the monies that he's owed
Well, then
me
let
to
me
the
see.
$8,000.
Let me see.
Also, you know,
Sure, just a second. Let me see what you have.
he did it twice.
Just a second. Would you show this to the defendant, please?
He was trying to make good on something, but
Remember writing that, sir?
Yes, I do.
All right, that seems to indicate, sir, that you had agreed on a specific amount of money, Mr. Swanger, that you did, in fact, owe the plaintiff.
And like I said, we had, but
No, you didn't say that, sir.
yes,
You
I
didn't
did.
say
I said
that.
we sat down and I sat down with him and we came to a dollar figure.
No, that's not
But
what
we
you
didn't
said,
take
Mr.
into
Swanger.
it.
What
Yes,
you
it was.
said
We
was
didn't
you
take
came
into
to a
account what
dollar
I had
figure.
already
Nobody
paid
speaks
him.
when I speak. You say that you came to a dollar figure, but that did not take into account the money that you had already given him. That's what you said. That's exactly what you said. You didn't say that you came to a dollar figure of what you owed. And then I said to you over and over again, well, what was it that you in fact gave him so I can deduct that from what you agreed that you owed him? And you said, I can't tell you. But here it is clear that you agreed that you owed him minimally the amount that he's suing for because you made certain payments.
But what about the monies
One-third
I had
payment,
paid to him?
$2,000. But that check was no good.
no good.
But that's what you wrote. 1/3 payment, $2,000.
And do you know why that check was written? Because I came home and all my things were in the foyer of the house, and it was done under distress as to our relationship was built on money and
Your
not.
Honor, he
not-
was having
Then you wrote another check, sir, a
I
month
had an
later.
affair. He's getting more rides and gray.
Then you wrote another check, sir, a month later for $2,000. Was that check cashed?
And stop payment.
You stopped payment on that
Exactly, he
check.
did.
So it's clear. It says something about balance, $6,000. And then you stopped payment on that. So was your furniture out in the hallway, sir, from September 21st, 2001 until October 2001?
It was back and forth. It was a
It was
roller
back and
coaster.
forth. Judgment for the plaintiff and the amount requested, $5,000. Thank you.
Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
The guy's like a doorknob. Everybody's had a turn. And when I did it back to him,
Takes a bad matter, makes it worse by going out and starting a new relationship with somebody else and expecting me to live with that with him. And I just wasn't going to have it.
Case number 502 on the calendar in the matter of Jeffers versus Barnett. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Folks, have seats, please.
Ms. Jeffers, some 2 years ago, the defendant, who was your boyfriend at the time?
Yes.
The two of you and a third person were driving in a car. Was it your car?
No.
It was his car?
Yes.
And there was an accident. It is your claim that the defendant was actually driving that day, but for some reason he asked you to tell the police that you were driving.
Right.
And initially you did that. You lied for him. Very next day you say you reported to the police that you had lied and sort of straightened things out. Sometime later you got sued by the lady whose car was hit by the car that you were in. The defendant, according to you, promised that he would pay the damage. You say he did pay for a while and then stopped. The defendant says that, no, you were actually driving the car and that he did give you some money.
Yes, ma'am.
But it was only because he was being a good guy and he was your boyfriend. And he has a counterclaim because he says that you broke into his house and stole some of his property and trashed the house.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So tell me, when was this accident?
On February 13th, 2000.
Was it a car or a truck?
Truck.
And was it 2 passengers in the front or 3?
3.
The 2 of you and who else?
His cousin Nathan.
Who certainly wants to be heard, right, Nathan?
Yes, ma'am.
Hmm?
Yes, ma'am.
You sure about that?
Nervous? Yeah.
Good. Where were you going?
I think we were going to look at some apartments in Edmond.
And it was his truck?
Mm-hmm.
Why would she be driving your truck?
I wasn't feeling right that day.
Tell me about it.
Ill.
What was wrong with you?
I was nauseous to my stomach.
If you were nauseous, how come you were going to look at apartments?
Because we had to find another place to live.
You were
very
being
soon.
what?
We're being evicted from where we were
That
at.
sounds like a good word, after we were being. So you took your nauseous self and you put yourself in the passenger seat, is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Is that right?
No.
Tell me what happened.
We left the house. I was sitting in the middle. He was driving, and his cousin was passenger. We drove up to Edmond, and we turned west. We were going under a railroad crossing, and he rear-ended a lady. He jumped out because he had had a DUI.
How did he jump out?
As soon as we hit the lady, he just jumped out of the truck to go and check on her, and he just looked over at me and said, "You were driving." And I said, "Oh, okay."
When did he have a DUI?
I think it was November.
Did you have a DUI in November?
Yes, ma'am.
What happened with that case?
It was dismissed.
When?
Maybe a month afterwards.
So it was still pending at the time that the truck was in this accident?
Yes, ma'am.
Go ahead.
When the police came, I told them that I was driving. When we went home that day, I went to my grandma's and told her what I did. She said, "Well, you're going to have to make this right. You'll just have to go to the police department and tell them you were lying."
And did you do that?
Yes.
Do you have any proof that you did that?
Yes.
Can I
have
see
a
it,
false
please?
information report. A year later, I was served by the lady he hit. I told her I wasn't driving, told her I had a false information report, and I talked to her lawyer, and I told him, and he said, "Well, that didn't matter." And so he was going to go to court with me and tell them that he was really driving, and then at last minute he changed his mind and said...
Well, tell me about that. Tell me about the conversation that you had with him. Did you tell him that you filed this report that you had
Yes.
lied to the police?
Yeah.
When did you tell him that?
I told him the same day.
What did he say to you?
He said, "I can't believe you did that. Your family's trying to throw me in jail," and he was just really mad about it.
What did he say to you when the woman contacted you a year later?
He agreed to go and tell them the truth. And then at last minute he decided he wasn't going to. He said he would just pay it off in payments to the attorney's office.
And what were the payments?
$150 a month.
What was the entire payment?
$3,344.87.
And at that time, was his DUI still pending?
I don't know. I just know he had a suspended license for as long as I'd known him.
Did he have a suspended license on the day of this accident?
Yes.
Oh, interesting. And how many payments of $150 did Mr. Barnett make?
I believe 6.
Is that right, Mr. Barnett?
Yes, ma'am.
And then he stopped.
Mm-hmm.
Did anything coincide with him stopping the payments?
We broke up.
And did you have a conversation with him about continuing with the payments after you broke up?
Yes. At the beginning of 2 months thereafter, I would ask him, "Will you pay this? Will you at least pay half?" And because I know it's part my fault, so I was trying to compromise him pay half.
Why was it part your fault?
Because I took the blame in the first place.
That doesn't make it part your fault. That just makes you stupid. And he said, "Sue me."
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Mr. Murray, where were you seated in the car?
Passenger side, by the door.
By the door.
Yes, ma'am.
And who was driving the truck?
Crystal Jeffers.
Miss Jeffers.
Yes, ma'am.
You're fibbing.
No, I'm not.
Sit down. I was being kind to you, sir.
I understand.
I don't like fibbers, especially in court.
Neither do I.
You understand what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Stand up here again. I don't think I'm finished torturing you yet.
All right.
You his cousin?
Yes, ma'am.
You friendly?
Yeah.
Like each other?
Yeah, love him.
And your cousin was nauseous that day,
Yes, ma'am.
right?
Yes, ma'am.
So why didn't you drive?
Because I don't have a license.
Neither did he. Doesn't seem to make any difference in your family. He didn't have a license either. The reason he wasn't driving was because he felt nauseous, not because he didn't have a suspended license.
Can I speak, Your Honor?
Of course.
The reason I wasn't driving is because I felt ill. Just because I don't have a license didn't stop me from driving.
That's exactly what I said, Mr. Barnett. Why don't you pay attention, sir? I said it doesn't stop members of your family from driving. He said he wasn't driving because he didn't have a license. I said, neither did you. But the reason that you gave me for not driving that day and for having your girlfriend drive was not because you had a suspended license, but it was because you weren't feeling well. Right?
Yes, ma'am.
Sit down.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Crystal Jeffers says ex-boyfriend Derek Barnett made her take the blame for a car accident he caused. Crystal claims he was driving on a suspended license and he didn't want to go to jail.
So now he owes you, because I don't believe him, $2,444. That's what's left. Now, you're only suing for half of that. Can you tell me why?
Actually, when I made my thing in Oklahoma, I miscalculated it, and it's actually $1944.87.
Well, did you make any payments?
Yes, because if I didn't make any payments, they were going to suspend my license. So I had to make the payments.
So you're just suing him for what's left?
Yeah.
Psh. That's unfortunate, but your lawsuit only asks for $1,450.
Yeah.
He owes you a lot more than that. You're getting away cheap, Mr. Barnett, considering the fact it was your accident. Now, you want to tell me about your counterclaim, and that is that you say that the plaintiff broke into your house and stole some property. Why don't you tell me?
I have a witness, also my mother.
Step up. Your last name is Barnett?
No, it's Libby Slavic.
All right, Miss Slavic. When was this break-in, and what do you know about it?
It was in August, and I was driving by his home, and I noticed Crystal coming out of the front door with a box in her hand. And when she see me, she dropped the box, and they all got in a truck and took off. So I pulled around, and I called the police from my cell phone, because I had known that when they broke up, he changed the locks on the house because she made it obvious she was not coming back in June.
So what did you do?
I went back to his house and waited for the police, but before they got there, he showed up.
And what did you find, sir, when you went into the house?
There was trash scattered across my floor. My furniture was turned upside down. Everything was gone except for one piece of furniture. $300 cash out of my dresser drawer. TV, VCR, stereo, CDs, and movies.
What date had you broken up with the plaintiff?
It was about 3 weeks earlier than that.
On what date in the month had you been paying this $150 for this car accident?
It was on the 1st of every month.
Had you paid August's payment?
Yes, ma'am, I believe at the time, yes.
Did he make August's payment?
No, I made August.
Let me see what paper you're looking at. August, you did not make a payment, sir. She made the payment in August.
Okay.
What are you saying no?
No, ma'am, she didn't. I mailed that for him, so I know for a fact he paid it in August.
Why was he making these payments, madam?
Because the woman that she hit had called me on the phone. She had told me that Crystal was driving the truck, and then she said that she got a call from the police the next day. Crystal had went down and filed a false police report.
That said that he was driving.
He was driving. He was not driving the pickup. Her witness even said that Crystal was driving.
Her witness isn't here, and she's not here.
Right.
And he was
I
driving the
understand
truck because if he wasn't driving the truck, he wouldn't have made these payments of $150 a month.
Well, Your Honor, I'm not going to sit here and say that he
Right.
was because I wasn't there. So
Absolutely
I don't know.
right.
I wasn't there.
Absolutely right. I don't have to be there.
But I was driving by his house when I seen her come out of his home.
All right, now, Miss Jeffries, let me get to you. And you know, I'm pretty good at this stuff. You went to his house with some friends.
My mother, my grandma, my grandpa, and one of my mom's friends.
And what did you go there for?
To get my clothes and my furniture.
And it was your furniture?
Yes. My dad's mother that died gave it to me.
Did you take anything that didn't belong to you?
Come on. CDs and movies, but we bought those together, so I'm not sure who bought what, you know.
What about a TV and a VCR?
The TV I left there because that was his. His mother gave it to him. The VCR, my dead grandmother gave to me, and a stereo my other grandma bought at a garage sale.
What else was taken, Mr. Barnett?
Everything that I named to you before.
What?
The TV, the VCR, the CDs, the movie, $300 cash out of my dresser drawer.
So all of that totals how much, sir, do you think?
$1,500.
You think if I were to add it up all together, it would, I would probably slash that a little bit. In any event, Mr. Barnett, I'm not going to get into a long, protracted case on who bought what movies and who bought what stuff. All I will tell you is that since I believe that you owe her considerably more than she sued for, I'm giving you nothing on your counterclaim because she's suing you for at least $1,000 less because she didn't understand that just because she made the payments that she could have sued for that too. She's just suing for the balance that's left. So you get zippo, nada, judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,450. Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Crystal has this thing about lying when she's under pressure.
If you lie, you're going to get caught. And he was lying.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Cleary versus Gray, step forward, please.
Homemaker Sandy Cleary and her son, 5-year-old Nicholas, are suing their neighbor, accounts receivable clerk Cynthia Gray. Sandy claims Cynthia's dog bit Nicholas in the face.
Miss Cleary, this is your little boy?
Yes.
What's your name?
Nicholas.
Nicholas, why don't you come up here? You're going to sit right up here next to me.
There you go.
Nicholas, how old are you?
5.
You know who I am?
It's Judy.
Right. Do you ever watch me on television? You know what it is to be in court? Is this court where you are now? Okay. You know you have to tell the truth when you're in court, right? Show me where you were bitten, Nicholas.
On my nose.
On your nose? Looks okay to me. Is it all better now? It's all better? Good. Miss Cleary, you and the defendant are neighbors, and according to your complaint, one of her dogs bit your son.
Correct.
You want her to pay you $5,000 for whatever. Pain, suffering, a whole bunch of other things. How far away do you live from Mrs. Gray?
We have an apartment complex that we live in, and there's a home dividing Cindy's home to our apartment complex.
She lives in a private house?
Correct.
With a yard?
Correct.
With a fenced yard?
Yes.
How high is the fence?
It's probably about Nicholas's height, maybe a little bit taller.
And what kind of dogs does she have?
She has a medium-sized dog, mixed breed, and a little Chihuahua-sized dog.
Okay, and her dogs are behind the fence?
Correct.
Always behind the fence, unless she's walking them.
Well, not so correct on that one. Sometimes the dogs are free to either get out with the children also in the neighborhood to go in.
No, the children don't go in, I assume, unless their parents are with them.
Well, Cindy has also a young son, and my children, as well as other neighborhood children, have been able to go into the backyard to see if he's there to play.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Versus the front door, actually.
No, but you wouldn't allow your 5-year-old to go there.
No.
Of course not. So, on what date was Nicholas bitten?
September 10th.
And where were you?
I was in the front yard of our apartment complex.
And who was with Nicholas?
His little friend, Lily.
How old is Lily?
She's the same age.
So you have 2 5-year-olds. And you were watching them?
Yes.
Well, tell me what happened.
Well, what happened was Nicholas and Lily both had asked if they could go see Nina and Riley.
Nina and Riley are the 2 dogs?
The 2 dogs, correct.
Yes.
And I said that would be okay, but it didn't look as if anybody was home and to please not go into the fence, as children always do. And he said okay, and the last I knew, he went to go and see the dogs, and then he started screaming.
Just a minute. When he and Lily, also age 5, went over to the defendant's home, could you see your son?
No, Your Honor, I could not.
Why not?
Because, I mean, it's very close quarters. Her driveway goes back a little further than where ours does.
Yes.
It happened very quickly. My older son had also gone over there with them.
Where's your older son?
He's not here today. He didn't see what happened as well.
Then I don't need him here. So what you're saying is your son went into her yard.
Yes. The gate has never been a real well-shutting gate.
That's not the issue, whether it's shut well or not. Ms. Cleary, you are the parent.
Correct.
You have a responsibility. You have a 5-year-old child. Your 5-year-old child should not be out of your sight when playing out in the street. And if your 5-year-old child comes to you and says, I want to go and play with the 2 dogs, and you believe, as you said, that the defendant is not home or that nobody is home, you get off your duff and you get up and you say, you want to go and see the dogs, I will go with you. Madam, this is your fault. This is not the defendant's fault. She has 2 dogs. Her dogs are behind a fence, well protected. If your son hadn't gone into the yard, your son would not have gotten bitten. And you just told me that the fence doesn't work too well, the gate doesn't work too well. Where are you? I mean, you're out talking to a friend? It's your job to watch him. And if you were negligent in taking care of your own son, don't blame anybody else.
Your Honor, I am not blaming anybody else. It happened so quickly. I instructed him that he could only pet the dogs over the fence, as he always does. That children and him, they always pet the dogs.
So where was he when it happened?
The gate had opened. He went inside.
Then you weren't close enough, Miss Cleary.
I disagree, Your Honor, but...
Well, that's your prerogative to disagree. I'm telling you, it's your fault. It's not her fault. Your son went into her property, and you were outside, and it's your responsibility to take care of your child. It's not her responsibility to take care of your child. And you had the opportunity to do that by taking him by the hand with his friend Lily, walking him over to the fence, saying, I want to go and pet the dogs. Fine. Don't go into the yard, because you don't know what 2 5-year-olds do. 2 5-year-olds don't always have judgment. And this is a situation where you're looking to blame somebody else for your negligence, malfeasance, lack of proper parenting, and you're not going to do that here. Your case is dismissed. You were wonderful, Nicholas. Goodbye.
This is case number 35 on the calendar in the matter of Lowen versus Posthumus. Parties have been sworn in. Judge, you may be seated. Folks, have seats.
Mr. Lowen, it is your claim that the defendant owes you for rent, some money that you loaned to her, and is responsible for your puppy being lost. She says that you owe her money because you stole stuff from her storage unit. So you're going to explain this situation to me, starting with how she came to live in your house.
Okay, she married a good buddy of mine. She moved in. They both shared a room for $500 a month. And
so you had a friend
yeah,
who married her,
yes,
and he was your tenant.
yes.
When did he move in?
Beginning of September 1st.
With his wife?
Yes,
That's the defendant.
yes.
Then what happened?
Well, actually, they moved in, and then they got married like a week later. And then he paid $430, and then he left September 26th. He took off. He ditched her, and then she ended up staying because she had nowhere to go, so I let her stay. And then, so I'm asking for rent money.
Let's move on. So you let her stay?
Yes.
And did you have a rental arrangement with her?
Yes.
What was the arrangement?
Well, first of all, when they were married together, it was $500 a month, and then if it's just her, it's $400 a month.
Starting in October?
Yes.
Did she pay you in October?
No.
Did she pay you in November?
Nope. She never paid any rent.
Just a second. Didn't pay you in October. Didn't pay you in November. When did she move out?
She moved out January 8th.
Did she pay you in December?
Nope.
And she was just your tenant?
Yes.
No romance, no nothing like that?
She tried to lure me into a relationship, but...
But you resisted?
Right.
Fine. I just want to know, this is just rent?
Yes.
And she's staying in her room and you got your room?
Well, actually, she wouldn't leave me alone. She was like a tail, I guess.
No, Mr. Lowen, listen to me, sir. I have to find out if this is a pure tenancy relationship or if something happened, because that's part of her defense. So she did not only stay in her room, but sometimes you shared a room.
Right.
Okay. When did you start sharing a room?
Well, she didn't have a bed, so I had an extra bed, and she stayed on that for a while, and then
She jumped in my bed.
When did you start sharing a room, sir?
We started sharing October 4th.
Okay. Now you want to tell me about these loans that you claim, sir?
She came up to me at work and asked to borrow $60. And she was, her and my roommate Angie went out and got cats. It was a surprise, so I gave her the money. She comes home with the cat.
When?
I'm not sure on the exact date.
What else?
And then I gave her. She asked.
Stop playing with the cards.
Sorry. She asked. I borrowed a couple $100 to her in cash.
When?
I'm not sure.
For what?
Miscellaneous stuff. I'm not even sure what it was
Before or
for.
after she was sharing your room on October 4th?
After.
What else?
And then I gave her. She went on house arrest for a few weeks, and
Why?
I paid for all the house arrest.
What was she on house arrest for?
That I'm not exactly sure. She was, I wouldn't call her an honest person, so.
What else?
She wanted to borrow a couple $100 to go Christmas shopping for her 3 kids, and I wrote a check to the bank, and I got a receipt and a check saying that I got the $200 from my bank to loan her.
Oh, this better pick up, Mr. Lowen. Let's go.
And then I also gave her $30 for she needed to get diapers for her kids, and then I also gave. She ordered Chinese food one day at work, and I went out and picked up the Chinese food, and then I paid for it, and of course she never paid me back for it. And then on November 1st, she cleaned out cleaned out her room, and I had to pay $6 extra for garbage. And then when she finally moved out, I had to pay another $4 to get rid of some more stuff.
Judge Judy, am I allowed to step in here for a minute?
No. Let me stop you, Mr. Lowen, because I'm really getting very bored. And if I'm bored, Bert is bored. With your $6 and your $4 and your $20 and your $23. From October the 4th until she left in January, did she share your room?
Yes. Well, not the whole time.
Half the time?
About that, yeah.
Forget it. Can you say these words? No, I'm not interested. Could you repeat those words to me?
Yeah, no, I'm not interested.
No, I'm not interested.
I'd like to call my witness. She can verify that she would not leave me alone. I asked her several times to leave.
Mr. Lowen, you don't ask her several times to leave. You call the authorities and say, I want this person who's trespassing in my house out of my house. You have no lease with her. She had no right to be there. But you can't call the police to come to your house to evict a trespasser who you're sleeping with. That's a problem. Do you work for a living?
Yes, I do.
What kind of work do you do?
I deliver pizzas for Domino's Pizza.
Okay. If Domino's Pizza calls somebody and says, we have an offer, you get a 12-inch pizza with 9 toppings for $6.99, and somebody doesn't like pizza, you know what they say? No, I'm not interested. But listen to me, Mr. Lowen. You don't eat the pizza and then say, no, I'm not interested. Do you understand my point?
That's a good analogy, yeah.
Good.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Would you tell me what happened with the puppy?
I bought the dog for $150. So the next day, she threw a Halloween party, and the dog disappeared.
Jed had taken her to court and sued her for the puppy, too.
And later today,
I started crying, and I was screaming. I was saying, stop. And he said, shut the F up and get over it.
Listen, Miss Campbell, get over it.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Jed Lowen says his relationship with roommate Kelly Postumus quickly turned romantic. Now, he claims she owes for unpaid loans, rent, and for the cost of a puppy.
Now, madam.
Yes.
You say that he took stuff out of your storage unit.
Yes.
What was your stuff doing in storage?
It was after I moved out of his house, I placed it all in storage.
Did he have a key to the storage unit?
Actually, yes. When we first got it, he put it in his name. So he's the only person that had a key.
What was in your storage unit?
I had everything: my bed, my crib, my table, my TV, my PS2, my VCR, all my clothes, my kids' stuff.
Mr. Lowen, did you take any of the stuff out of the storage unit that belongs to her? Hmm?
It's a bunch of junk in her storage.
Did you stop paying for the storage?
I signed the lease, and I was on it for, I got a month free, and then like a month later, we went and got it arranged so it was in her name.
You went together?
Right.
Now, when you went together, did you check the storage unit?
I didn't even look in there.
You went down to the storage unit with him and had it put in your name?
I met down there and...
Just answer my question.
No, not with him.
You met down there?
Yes.
Did you look in the storage unit at that time?
He wouldn't give me the key. He wouldn't let me go in there. He had bought me a car.
Just a sec. If you went and put it in your name and paid for it, then they'll give you another key.
Your Honor, the lock that I originally had on there, he went and cut it off and put his own lock on. And he had bought me a car. And he told me the car, I had moved to Illinois, and he told me he wasn't going to sign over the storage until he got the car back. So that day, he went down with his mom, got the car, and I have in the signed agreement here saying that once he got the car, he would sign it over, give me the keys, he wouldn't take anything or nothing out of my storage. And the next day, he came over, signed it over, but he didn't give us the keys.
Other than the fact that he had the key, you have no proof that he took anything out of the storage unit. Is that right?
Yeah.
All right, now tell
I
me
have my
about
witness, though, that knows everything that was in storage. I have
I don't care.
pictures.
Any proof that he took stuff out of storage? Why didn't you pay him any rent?
I did actually pay him rent when I was working at Domino's. I signed over 2 checks to him. One was for $350 and one was for $400.
The last item on your agenda is this puppy,
Yes.
right? What happened with the puppy?
Well, I wrote a personal check, which I got the check right here. And she was my witness. She lived with me at the time.
Would you tell me what happened with the puppy?
I bought the dog this October 30th for $150. So the next day, she threw a Halloween party.
Who's she?
Kelly.
Yes?
She threw a Halloween party and the dog disappeared.
Where were you?
I was working.
What happened to the puppy?
Actually, somebody took the puppy from the party we had, but he wasn't working. He was there. And Angie, that's sitting over there, it was probably about 3 months ago. She was an ex-roommate, too. Jed had taken her to court and sued her for the puppy, too. This is the third person.
Were you sued for this puppy?
Not for the puppy. It was for the cat.
Takes all kinds. Mr. Lowen, you have no case. You ate the pizza, sir. You ate the pizza. And, madam, you have no case because you can't prove to me that he took anything out of your storage.
Can I show you
Goodbye.
pictures?
Goodbye. Have a happy life. It's been nice spending the morning with you. Goodbye.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
She's scandalous, doesn't pay anyone anything.
I got pictures of everything being damaged. My entertainment center is totally scratched up. I mean, just everything that was in there.
I never touched her. I never broke anything. She made it all up, and her junk wasn't worth anything anyways.
Everything was going fine between me and him, and then all of a sudden his parents are like, if you don't choose her or else you're never going to see us again, so that's when he kicked me out.
Kathy Pogue and her daughter, 18-year-old student Dana Pogue, are suing Dana's sister, 20-year-old caregiver Nina Hawk, and her husband, 22-year-old inventory specialist John Hawk. Catherine and Dana say the couple owe for babysitting fees, the value of a couch, and money taken from a bank account. The Hawks are countersuing for 3 months of living expenses.
Order. All rise. Your Honor, this is case number 135 on the calendar in the matter of Pogue versus Hawk. You're welcome. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated, sir. Have a seat.
Mrs. Pogue, this young lady is your daughter.
Yes, ma'am.
And this is your other daughter.
Yes, ma'am.
And you're the
husband.
Let's deal with your daughter's lawsuit first, because I think that might be easier. You are suing your sister because you claim when you were living with her, she had promised to pay you for babysitting.
Yes, ma'am.
And she didn't.
Yes, ma'am.
How old are you?
18.
How old were you when you were living with your sister?
18.
When did you start to live with your sister?
The middle of February.
Why?
I was kicked out of my father's house because I did not get along with my new stepmother. So
Nina and her husband said that it would be fine for me to move in with them.
How long had you been living with your father?
I moved in with my father when I was 15.
Prior to that, you had lived with your mother?
Yes.
Why did you leave your mother's house?
Me and my mom didn't really get along at the time.
Now, what was your living arrangement with your sister?
At the beginning, we lived in an apartment, and I had my own room. And then after that, we moved into a bigger house, so I still had my own room.
Okay. Were you paying any expenses?
Yes. Actually, no, I had them under my name. I had the cable under my name and the telephone under my name, but they were paying it.
So you were not paying any expenses in the house?
No, because I was still going to school. And
the answer is you were not. You were 18, but
Yeah.
not paying any expenses in the house.
Yes.
Were you getting any money from your mother and father?
No.
Who was giving you spending money?
My sister.
And how many months did you live with her?
3 months, I think, exactly.
Is that right?
3.5 months.
So for 3.5 months, you lived while you were legally an adult, 18. You're living with your sister. You're not paying rent. You're not paying for food.
No,
You're not paying for transportation. And if you had to go to a movie or something, if you wanted to go to a movie or out with friends.
I paid for it.
I never asked her to pay for it.
Did she ever give you any spending money? I mean, I can't believe that in 3.5 months you didn't say, could I have $5 or could I have $10 or...
Bought her clothes, gave her money. Yes, I gave her $50 one time, $30 another, just for spending money, paid for her boutonniere for her prom, bought her pants, bought her a whole outfit, bought her food for a bird. She neglected to tell me the last month her bird was without food and it died. But besides that, I paid it all.
So why would you sue her for babysitting occasionally for her children?
Because it was a verbal agreement that she said she would give me $110 from her financial aid for going to school to watch her daughter.
During the summer, if I worked, and she made me almost lose my job. I had only worked there a week and a half, and she bailed out on me every single time I asked her to babysit during that only week and a half that she lived with me. And
I'm not going to bother with your babysitting claim, so now you can sit down. You should say thank you to your sister and forget it. All right, now let's get to your claim. There came a time when you wanted to use a bank account that was your daughter's, and you put money into a bank account that was in her name and her husband's?
Just my name.
Just your name?
Mm-hmm. She opened the account for me, Your Honor. She couldn't get an account anywhere else. It was a favor.
But then, when you moved that account, there were some outstanding checks, I gather, or outstanding debits, and they took part of the balance that belonged to your mother. You acknowledge that?
Yes.
How much did they take that belonged to you?
$134.77, Your Honor.
Okay, well, you are clearly owed that.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah. She did not give me a chance to pay it, though.
All right, $134.77.
We called twice, Your Honor, and her husband said to me after on the offering phone, to make payments. no, before I even had any chance to say anything else, her husband said to me, quote unquote, take me to court. Lick my tongue, Your Honor. And that was very unbelievable.
Yeah, it sure is. Not the way to speak to somebody, sir. I'm just telling you, there's no excuse for that.
She called. She called my mom's house because we didn't have a phone at the time, and told my mom what happened. So I think it was like 4 days later, I called her Colette.
He said, I hear you're going to take me to court.
No, just, please.
Okay.
I said, I hear my mom tells me you're going to sue me for money that was taken out of your account to cover our other account. And she said, yes. And I said, and she wanted the money by the 1st. She said it was part of her rent money. And I said, I don't know if I can give you all that money by the 1st because my rent's also due. And she said that wasn't acceptable. She needed her money and that I was going to stiff her. And I said, well, then you have to then sue me.
No, I'm telling you, sir, that what you said to her was uncalled for.
Yeah, I agree.
Oh, good. Then I don't have to yell at you anymore.
Also, Your Honor, he told me that I couldn't see my granddaughter anymore.
Yeah, he's an idiot.
Well, if you weren't smoking pot and drinking alcohol and
Shh.
everything else.
Stop.
Maybe I'd allow it.
Please, I am not getting into this. Let me just take care of the money, please.
Yes.
You want to fight with each other? Do it outside.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Your Honor.
Listen to me. Shouldn't say anything else that is going to make any situation worse.
And later today,
they dressed shamelessly and makeup, and they were hellions. We're 9 and 11 going on 17.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Catherine Pogue and her daughter Dana Pogue say Dana's sister, Nina Hawk, and her husband, John, owe for babysitting fees, a couch, and stolen money.
You have some nonsense here about a couch that you say you loaned to your daughter and she sold.
Yes, ma'am.
You sure you want to get into that?
Ma'am, that was the agreement between her and I.
What was the
okay, I had a pretty good sized house, and I was going to move closer to my job.
Go ahead. What year was this?
The beginning of the year 2000.
All right. You said take one of my couches.
I said take both the sofa and the love seat. Please keep them in your control. If you decide to get rid of them, please, I would like them back. Or if you decide to sell them, this is how much I would like for them, because she said that her friend had expressed an interest in buying them. Come to find out, I asked her about them, and she said, oh no, Danielle has them in storage. And I said, oh, well then was Danielle going to buy them? And she said, Danielle already gave me the $350. And I said, well then why didn't you give it to me? She said, well, I needed to use it at the time. And I said, okay, I understand that, but that was the agreement that you agreed to pay for them.
Go ahead.
This woman talks to me on a
No.
daily basis.
Talk to me about the couches.
She knows exactly what happened. When I was 17, April, she moved out to live with her boyfriend in Vancouver. She left me half the furniture. I've still got the buffet table, the sewing machine, never said anything about payment. I never expected this. I sold it to a friend of mine a year later. I was evicted a week and a half after she moved out because she hadn't paid 4 months' rent.
Okay, when your mother moved, who remained in the house with you?
My boyfriend and his best friend had to move in and help pay expenses.
Just a second. So it was just you and your boyfriend?
Yes.
Is that accurate?
Yeah, pretty close. Pretty
close. Forget the couches. Judgment for the plaintiff on your claim for $134.77. Let me deal with your counterclaim for a moment.
Okay.
And it will take only a moment.
Okay.
Your sister moved in with you, and your counterclaim is that your mother should pay for the 3 months that your sister lived with you.
She offered to help pay out and never paid a dime to help.
Your Honor.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Well, if you did not have what I consider a real contract with your mother, your sister she certainly is under no obligation to pay anything for your sister who had turned 18. So you want to tell me what financial contract you allege with your mother with regard to your sister's support?
Not anything in writing, just verbally that she said she'd help out whenever she could and
Helping out whenever she could is not a contract.
Yeah.
Because she can't. Because she's going to tell you that she can't. All right, so your counterclaim is dismissed, and on your claim you have $134.77.
Okay.
Listen, I don't know what caused all of this animus all of a sudden, because it sounds to me as if, despite its dysfunctional nature, the family had been working reasonably well.
I love both my daughters dearly, Your Honor.
Well,
Your Honor, may I ask you something?
Who are you?
I talked to Mr.
No, how are you related to these people?
He lives with me, Your Honor.
I'm
And he spoke with John about the money owed.
I'm the other person that was on the account. It was my money also.
Just a second.
I've got proof
related?
that it
Are you
wasn't.
related to any of these people in any way?
No, Your Honor.
Then I don't want to hear from you.
They tried to say it was his.
Love your show, by the way.
Good. I love your silence.
Your Honor.
Listen to me. Shouldn't say anything else that is going to make any situation worse.
Your Honor, I had no intention of doing that. I would like to tell you that the babysitting thing was, Dana did want to go out and get a job. They told her, no, please, we will pay you for babysitting. That was how that all came about.
Ms. Polk, let me tell you something.
I understand.
If an 18-year-old moves in with a sister and her husband, and there isn't a lot of money floating around, it seems anywhere there's not a lot of money floating around, and it does cost money to have another human being in your house.
Yes.
I am positive that they extended themselves in certain ways financially.
That's probably
in order
true,
to have your daughter, her sister, living with them. Whether it's for a pair of shoes or a pair of sneakers or something for graduation or an outfit or $5 to go to the movies or whatever.
And
there shouldn't have been an issue. There shouldn't even have been an issue with regard to this suit by your daughter.
And I
That's all.
understand that.
So let's not say any more. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $134.77. That's all.
Thank you,
Parties
Your
are
Honor.
excused. You may step out.
They just don't understand that family is family.
I'm really sorry it had to come to this.
Basically, they've run out of people to borrow money from because they burnt all their bridges, and that's what this is really about.
I don't understand why it happened.
I called him up, asked him if he wanted to handle it like a man and make payments, and he said, no, take me to court.
Now, this is case number 117 on the calendar in the matter of Ross versus Joseph. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
All right, Miss Ross, you claim that the defendant, who was an ex-boyfriend of yours, owes you for a whole bunch of stuff.
Correct.
Some of it dates back to 1999. That's a motorcycle that you purchased. It was his motorcycle he was supposed to make payments on. We're going to leave that for a moment.
All right.
When did you and the defendant break up? Give me the date when you no longer were seeing each other as boyfriend and girlfriend.
Probably December of last year.
Now, according to your complaint, the major loan that you made to him, discounting the motorcycle, was when his father died. When was that?
August of last year.
So what was your involvement with him in August of last year?
Well, his family came to me, and I was close with his family.
But you weren't with him?
No, we were still together.
You were still together. While you were still together, as a couple, his father died.
Correct.
And his family came to you and said what?
Well, basically, Alex came to me, and based on their families getting together, they were a little short on money on paying for funeral expenses.
What did he say?
He said he needs to borrow some money. They were expecting to get some money from the father's account, but it hadn't come in. And as soon as it came in, he would give me the money back.
How much did you give him?
$1,500.
Is that correct, Mr. Joseph?
Yes, Your Honor, it is.
Did you give her back the money?
No, she never asked for it back, Your Honor.
Well, she's here. She's asking for it.
She had just told me not to worry about it. The family was in a tough spot. I did not come to her. She offered it to me.
Well, tell me your version of how that came about.
My father had died. We were $1,500 short of the funeral expenses.
Who's we?
My family.
Give me the members of your family that were short.
Myself. I mean, my aunt. It's not. He's not married or anything. My dad wasn't married. It was more about just my loan, I guess, not my family's.
Your what? Repeat that again. Your loan.
Well, okay, if you want to put it that way.
No, you just put it that way, sir. You just said it was my loan.
She came to me with the offer.
Isn't that what you just said to me? It was my loan to pay for my father's funeral.
That is what I just said to you.
Right. Now, did your father have an estate that was ultimately settled?
No.
Everybody dies with some money in the bank, sir. What happened to the money that he had that was in the bank?
He had $5,000 in the bank.
Right. What happened to that $5,000? Look at me.
It went towards the funeral expenses, Your Honor. It was $7,500 total.
$7,500 total, and he had $5,000 in the bank, and I'm sure you're fudging it just a little bit. So how much did you pay?
I paid $1,000, and Miss Ross paid $1,500.
How many children are there?
Myself, and I have a stepsister and a stepbrother.
What about them? Didn't they like him?
I was surprised they were at the funeral.
But they were there.
Yeah.
Well, as between his biological children and the plaintiff, who do you think ought to pay to bury him?
Oh, I definitely think that the biological children should.
Right! Now, in 1999, according to you, he wanted a motorcycle. You lent him money. How much was the motorcycle?
The total ended up being around $12,000.
How much did he pay you back?
He's probably made about $2,000, $3,000, somewhere in between there. I have a running tab. In addition to the motorcycle, there was other things that he said, oh, just tack it on to my payment. Just tack it on, just tack it on.
That's your problem. If you're going to be stupid and just keep tacking it on, a lot of it's your problem. Like the jacket that you bought for him for $400 so he could ride the motorcycle in 1999. Forget it. 3 years later, you don't come into court and waste my time with, I bought him a leather jacket so he would look handsome at driving his motorcycle. And he only paid you since 1999 about $2,000 or $3,000, according to you.
Correct.
And then there came a time when you took the motorcycle back.
Just about a month ago.
Tell me about that.
Well, he stopped paying since December of last year.
Why?
I never said I stopped paying.
Did you make a payment last month?
Before she took the motorcycle, yes.
You did?
Yes.
How much?
$300.
So is what you're telling me that you've made all the payments on the motorcycle?
Yes.
Really? How much a month? $300 a month?
Actually, it was $208 originally, and we added $100 for the other monies that were owed to her.
What other monies?
From the jacket. I added $100 for 4 months for the price of the jacket, which she's claiming I still owe her for.
So is what you're telling me, sir, that irrespective of the fact that you made all your payments, she took the motorcycle back?
She has actually taken the motorcycle twice, and my side of the story basically is, we were together. I decided I did not want to continue the relationship. When I didn't want to continue the relationship anymore, apparently she was hurt by it or what have you, wanted some sort of vengeance or whatever, and she decided to hit me where it hurts, because anybody that knows me knows that I love nothing like I love that motorcycle.
Mr. Joseph, you have not answered my question.
Okay, I apologize.
My question is, sir, is it your testimony that you have paid her each and every month since 1999 $208 and then $308 for the last almost 3 years.
Each month the bike was in my possession, Your Honor, yes. When she took it, I obviously did not pay for it.
Now, you say she took the bike twice, once last month, and for how long did she have the bike before that?
Maybe 4 months, 5 months. I'm not really sure, to be honest.
And why did she take the bike at that point, sir?
Because I decided to discontinue our relations.
Then why did she give it back?
Probably in hopes to somehow woo me back into the relationship. I don't know how to word it, to be honest. I mean...
That's a fair statement. That's a fair statement. Do you have proof, sir, of the monies that you paid her towards the bike?
No, I do not.
Okay. Now, she has the bike. Have you put an ad in the paper to sell it?
Yes, and I have not. I've had to reduce the price 3 times, and I have not had anyone come to see it because he changed it and altered the motorcycle. And when I took it back, all I got was the motorcycle without all of its original parts, without everything.
So you have no idea how much you're going to get for it?
I'll maybe get $3,000 for it, if that.
Well, you don't know that.
No, I don't. I haven't got a single call on it.
I don't have any evidence, but I know. I looked in the Cycle Trader. It's probably around $4,500 is what she would get for it. Now, if I had it my way, I would continue to pay for the motorcycle because it's very important to me. It's something that I've spent over 100 hours in the garage working on it, putting on these aftermarket parts. And it's all about... She's been hurt by me.
Well, are you
so
prepared to say as follows, sir, that if you can present proof of continued insurance and that you make regular payments in the amount of $300 a month?
I will not give him the bike back.
You won't?
No.
Because it's not about the money. It's about me not having the motorcycle.
He's completely disrespected me and told me, made threats, and it's beyond that now.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment. And later today...
I told her, unchain the dog, tell him to come home, he'll come home.
He says, just open the door, let him out, tell him Poppy's home, and he'll come home by himself.
Is that stupid?
No.
I mean, is there something wrong with you?
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Stacy Ross says ex-boyfriend Alex Joseph owes for a motorcycle and for a loan to bury his father.
Go ahead. I gave him many opportunities to took the bike away. Actually, he parked the bike in my garage because he couldn't afford it. And he said, do me a favor, having some rough times, keep the bike for me. I'll get my feet back on the ground. I'll give you money and we'll start back up. For 5 months, he did that. I made his payments for him, paid the insurance because he let it slip. And then I gave him the bike back, which I should never have done, but I trusted him. I thought he had good intentions. But then it came to a point where he said, you know what, you don't need the money, you're rich. And just, it went on from there. And at that point, that's it.
So what I suggest you do is sell it, and you're free to refile your claim once you've sold the bike. Make sure you have your figures correct, exactly how much he's paid you, what you got for the bike, the difference in the loan that you are still paying for, and that's what your damages are. Do you understand?
Yes.
In the meantime, he owes you $1,500 for his father's funeral. The $1,500 is a legitimate, I believe, loan. He slipped and used the word loan. That he has to pay back to you. And as soon as you get...
Well, he also slipped and said that he owed me for the motorcycle jacket, too. So
well, but he paid for some of it.
No, he
I
hasn't
paid 4
for
payments of $308 rather than $208 to make up for the $400 that she claims the jacket
In any
costs.
event, Ms. Ross, pay attention. 3 years ago, you bought him a jacket. After he hadn't paid you for the jacket, you still lent him money for his
He
father's
wasn't paying
funeral.
for the jacket. He would never pay me back for one item and say, here, this is for that.
Then you got to be smart.
That's why I took the bike back.
Fine. Then you have it. Now sell it. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,500.
I would like to be able to speak, Your Honor. What, do I not get to defend
While he's
myself?
not excused, you may step out.
Cool. So all the green highlighted things that you see are my voicemail being filled up by the plaintiff.
Intentions mean nothing. It's actions that actually speak louder than words.
That's 100 phone calls in an hour and 4 minutes.
The only times I called is to demand my money.
There's a little bit of a problem going on here mentally.
Don't trust men and don't buy them motorcycles or anything else.
Don't get married and don't give her your phone number.
This is case number 301 on the calendar in the matter of Elliott versus Elliott Pruitt. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Have a seat, please.
Is that child necessary in the courtroom?
He's a witness.
How old is he?
5.
I'd like him to wait outside.
Okay.
Let me take that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Miss Elliott, the defendant is your brother and the co-defendant is his girlfriend. According to you, you made a series of loans to your brother, which was only partially repaid. And then you claim that he assaulted you.
Yes.
And the vast majority of your claim is for damages as a result of that assault. That's what this is about. Your brother says that he paid you back and that it was actually you who assaulted him. So let's first start with the loans. When did you make these loans and what were they for?
Some were for miscellaneous things to start a new house.
When?
In April.
And how much did you give him in April?
$149 for the miscellaneous things, and then $465 for his first month's rent, and $20 for a credit check to get the place.
Now, Mr. Elliott, is it correct that your sister gave you that money?
Yes.
Plus, I loaned him a futon, a box fan, and a ceiling fan that was to be returned to me.
Futon and 2 fans. Okay. How much did he pay you back for the loans?
He gave me one payment of $318, one payment of $3, and one payment of $50.
What was the $3 payment?
That's all she gave me that day. She said that's all they had.
So all told, they repaid you $371?
Yes.
Okay. Tell me about the loans.
Well, I got it right here. This is my evidence for you to look at, that we paid him.
Did he ever sign a check over to you in the amount of $418?
Yeah, right around 5th of April, they got a check from AFDC for $418, and I cashed it and gave them $100 back. They said they needed it.
Does that sound right? Probably. I believe her. Speak.
She only gave us $100 back. It wasn't
That's what I
$160.
just said.
No, that's what she said. She gave you $100 back.
Okay, yeah, that's right.
So the answer is yes, she gave you $100 back. So what else are you showing me? What is $930?
That was for the lease because she helped us get the house.
No.
And stuff.
I'm asking you about the rest of the money. She said that you gave her back
Oh, I didn't bring
$318,
I didn't bring in my,
$3 and $50.
I didn't bring in my check stubs, but we don't have any receipt for the money that we exchanged because we didn't think it was going to be an issue.
What do you mean you don't think it was going to be an issue? What did you think you were coming here for? Ballet lessons?
No.
So you have no proof that you have fully repaid this loan, is that correct?
No.
Fine, so you owe her $263 on the loan.
Yes.
Yes. Why couldn't we just get there right from the beginning? Now, you have the futon and the 2 ceiling fans. Where are they?
In storage.
In storage?
Yes.
Well, those you'll get back to her?
Yes.
Fine. 5 days from today, she gets back the futon and the 2 ceiling fans.
There is a restraining order for them not to come near me, so how?
Oh, that's all right. We'll arrange for it. Do you have a local precinct?
Yes.
Yes.
At noon on the 5th of next month, your U-Hauler, the futon, and the 2 ceiling fans are to be in front of the precinct. Got it?
Yes.
Noon, high noon, futon and 2 fans. Now let's talk about this assault, because that's the remainder of your complaint. Let me hear.
I went over there and was sitting down talking to Candace. He came in and started yelling with his hands in my face. I started to say something. He said, "I didn't tell you you could talk, you bitch." And I stood up and was going to go out the door, but he was standing in front of the door. He had welding gloves on because that's what he was doing at the time, was welding work. He slapped me across the face. She was behind me in the living room and yelled, "Jeremy, no." And he kept yelling. I said, "That's it. I'm taking my name off the lease if you're not going to be responsible and respect me." He got mad and was still yelling. So I tried to get out the door, and he was trying to, with his body, push me back in or not let me out, blocking me. And he punched me in the face. I said, "That's it. I'm calling the cops." And he kept yelling, "You don't do that to family." I said, "You don't hit family either." I said, "I'm out of here. That's it. I don't care." She's yelling, "Kathy, just leave." I'm trying to leave, but he's not there anymore. My nephew has a heart condition and had open heart surgery, and he was with me. He was so scared he wouldn't go to the car. I'm trying to get him out of the way because he can't have any blows or anything to his chest. At that time, after he hit me the second time, I do believe I pushed him a little bit to get him away so I could get out the door. I came outside trying to get Lorenzo, telling him to move.
That's your nephew?
Yes, and he's scared. He's not going nowhere. I'm pushing him. He comes at me again. I did have a 32-ounce plastic cup in my hand that I threw and told him to get away from me, that I was leaving and I was calling the cops. He's still yelling, "You don't do that to family," and a bunch of other nice little names. And he came at me again. I did grab him in a headlock so that my face would not get punched anymore because it hurt. When I put him in the headlock, she jumped on my back. So I pushed him away, and I don't know where she went after that because she was no longer on my back. When he went to the ground,
I grabbed my nephew and shoved him towards the car, and he came after me, threw my nephew in, went to get in. My window was down. He punched me in the left face again as I was in the car, and I took off and called the police.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Kathleen Elliott says her brother, Jeremy Elliott, owes for unpaid loans, the return of property, and an assault. Jeremy says Kathleen is crazy and attacked him first.
Now we'll hear from you. Don't smile. Whether the story is accurate or not, it's nothing to laugh about.
It didn't exactly go down like that.
Well, I'm waiting, sir, for your version of the events.
What happened was my boss said that somebody was waiting out front of my work. He says, you need to go out there because they're asking for you. So I walk out there and it's my sister. She was waiting out there from 4 o'clock till 5 o'clock, knowing I don't get off till 5 o'clock. And my boss was, you need to tell her to leave. So I walked out there, you need to leave. I'm waiting for you to pay me. And I said, well, I understand that, but I'm not off work yet, and you can't be out here.
Okay, your sister's waiting outside, waiting for you to give her some money that you owe her. So it comes 5 o'clock and you leave work. What did you do?
I get on my bike, I start riding.
Did you stop? You say, I'm going home, I'll see you home?
I said I was going to the liquor store.
You said you were going to the liquor store?
Yeah.
Is that right? No, you didn't. No, you didn't. Mr. Elliott, I have a detector back here. So I want you to be very careful what you say to me, sir. So let's get past the fact that you told her you were going to the liquor store to cash your check so that you could give her the money you owed her, because that never happened. You got on your bike and you rode home, right?
Yes.
Go ahead.
I proceeded on down Wilson Way, and then she's going at 5 miles an hour with traffic behind her screaming, I'm going to get my money one way or another, screaming and hollering at me and making a public scene. So I turned down one of the streets that she couldn't turn down. I don't remember the name of it. I got to the liquor store, and she wasn't there. So my house was right behind the liquor store, and she was there when I got there. I walked in the door and said, sis, we need to talk. For one, you can't be out front of my work. My boss is going to fire me over this. You're screaming, yeah, I need to pay you, I need to pay you. Well, give me some time to pay you. I can't pay you like that. I mean, I got to pay my bills. I have all kinds of other bills I have to pay back, too. That's when she gets up off the futon, and she like rhinoed me. That's how they put it. They rhinoed me out the door, and I hit the pole, and then after that, I don't know what happened because I was in a headlock.
So you're saying that you never punched her?
Nope.
You never put your hands on her?
You hit her with the glove.
Yeah, I hit her with the glove.
You did?
Yes.
When did you hit her with the glove?
Right before she grabbed me in the headlock.
But she'd already shoved me. Do you have any
I have
photographs?
that they took right afterwards, and I have a medical report saying that there's bruises, and they took x-rays.
I'd like to see.
And there's, somehow my foot got stepped on, and there's a picture of the mark that there's still a scar. There's some cuts on the cheek where they did a close-up from when he hit me open-handed with the welding gloves on the first time.
I see what appear to be scratches on your face that are consistent with being hit with something rough. Nothing black and blue.
Well,
no
that was
open
only half an
abrasions.
hour later.
You have any photographs afterwards?
No, they didn't come out.
I can't look at something that didn't come
But
out.
my sister saw the bruising afterwards.
If you had bruising afterwards, you take photographs. Were you arrested for this, sir?
No, I was not.
How come?
Because the deputy that we talked to, he said it just looks like it was a family dispute. And if I told him I said I didn't have no problems, and
she was on our property.
I did file a restraining order shortly after.
What happened with it?
I have a restraining order. Right now, it's good for 3 years.
You do?
Yes.
Can I
for
see
him
it,
to stay away
please?
from me and my nephew.
Can I see it, please?
They didn't bother to come.
How come you didn't show up for the hearing?
because at the time I was moving and I didn't receive the paperwork for it.
No, that's not true. That's a lie.
Served by the sheriff's
That's
department.
a lie.
At work.
I told you! Don't lie! She has proof of service by a sheriff, right?
Yes, at my work.
I didn't ask you whether you were served at your home or your work or on Mars. You were served, so why do you tell me that you weren't served?
I didn't mean it that I wasn't served.
That's what you just said. Isn't that what he just said?
On that paperwork, there wasn't
I wasn't
no
served
address.
and I was moving.
That's what he said.
That's what he said.
Or not address, the date.
All right. Miss Elliott, listen to me. He certainly owes you the $263. What was your unreimbursed medical
$86.93.
Let's make it $90.
Well, I also had to pay for medicine out of my own pocket for
And how much was that?
$43.54, and I had to go to physical therapy, cost gas, and then I had to pay $22 for the pictures and stuff from the police department.
Don't talk to me about gas. You had $133 out-of-pocket expense for both your medicals and your medicine.
Yes.
Those two things. 10 times that. $1,593. That's 10 times what your actual damages were, okay? Plus what he owes you for the loan. Because, Mr. Elliott, I don't believe anything that you say, sir. And I didn't even ask you anything, right?
Yeah.
You have your judgment?
If they don't return the furniture.
Oh, they'll return the furniture.
Not in good shape.
You didn't expect it back in great shape.
Yes, I did. They promised it would be returned in good condition.
How long have you known that he was marginal, madam?
He had never been marginal to me.
But you knew that he was
And
marginal
I
with other people.
Was in another state.
Just a minute. You knew he was
Yes, I
marginal
did.
with other people. You know, you got to use your good judgment. That's all.
Pardon our excuse, you may step out.
Well,
It's wrong.
It's wrong.
He was lying and she knew it.
I just hope she's happy now and she just goes on with her life.
He needs to grow up and act like a man.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Robinson versus Coleman. Step forward, please.
42-year-old nurse Torresanto Robinson is suing his ex-girlfriend, 43-year-old waitress Carolyn Coleman, for unpaid credit card charges and a gas bill. Carolyn says Torresanto has already been paid.
Mr. Robinson, you claim loans to the defendant.
Yes, I
She
do.
says you've been paid. How do you know her?
I met Mrs. Coleman back around 97, 98. We became friends. We dated a while, and she had an excellent job. I had excellent credit. She asked me to help her out with some utility things, which I put a lot of things in my name. As time went on, she took care of everything, the credit card, the utilities.
What credit card? I didn't hear credit card.
Yes, I got her a credit card also.
Why'd you get her a credit card for?
I mean, she was a good friend, and I trusted her, and she swore she would take care of the bill, no problem, and she did for a while.
And?
And as time went on, we decided to do other things in life, and she bought a house further away from me, and I could let the card be shipped to her home.
You let the card?
Yes, I had the address changed where it be mailed to her home. She continued to pay for a while, then as of June of this year, creditors started calling me. And around May of this year, I purchased another home for myself, and I found out that it was some utility bill that was unpaid. I went back to her and notified her of this. She took care of them all but one.
Which one didn't she take care of?
She did not take care of the gas bill.
How much is the gas bill?
It's 105.
So the gas bill is 105 that she didn't take care.
105.17, I'm sorry.
I have a difficult time enough with math. Don't talk to me about 17 cents. 105 was the gas bill. And what about the credit cards?
The credit card bill was $1,052.71.
And you never used this card?
No, I did not.
Okay. Let me see it.
Sure. If you can see, one of the statements, it had her address on it showing that the bill was going to her, and the other one had my address because I had to call them or have it sent back to me what I know what wasn't paid.
Okay, but during all the time she had this particular credit card, the bill was sent to her?
Yes. Not in the beginning, it was coming to me. After she moved to about 130-some miles away from me, that's when we sit down and decide, okay, we'll let the bill come to
Go to her. And when did she move? When did you move?
I moved March of 2000.
So after March of 2000, the bills were coming to you directly on the credit card. That's easy enough to figure out. All I have to do is call the credit card company, madam.
I had the bills. I called the credit card company and have them come because he was getting all the bills, and I didn't know what was being on there or nothing.
So the bills were coming to
Yes.
you? All right. So, gas bill 105, credit card bill $1,052. Let me hear.
Okay, Your Honor, I can't believe he's doing this to me, but anyway, I paid him the money for the bills that he claimed that I didn't owe. I gave him an $800 check, and he was supposed to have paid those bills.
When?
On March the 2nd.
Judge, the $800 she gave me, that was after I tried to purchase my home, that was a Comcast cable bill that the finance company would not accept my loan for the simple fact that I had an outstanding bill for $800-some for a cable bill. I turned around, called her and told her, I cannot get a loan for my house because they got this against me. She gave me $800. I went up there and I paid Comcast cable that amount.
No.
That was
Are you
the bill.
chewing gum?
I'm sorry.
Miss Coleman,
Yes.
You used this credit card, madam. You continued to use this credit card after March of 2000.
No, ma'am.
Let me see the bills after March of 2000.
I have, from the day one I gave, this is all bills. And she had a good job. She traveled. You look and see, you can see them all over the place.
Just one second. I just want to look after March of 2000.
I did not use the card after March.
What?
I did not use that card in March.
I said after March of 2000.
Okay, excuse me.
You want to change your answer now? No. Did you use the card after March of 2000?
No, ma'am.
I never made one purchase on that card. Not one.
What's an action draft payment? Anybody know?
I guess it was through her bank. Yes, I'm pretty sure, because she did tell me once that the bank was automatically taking it out. The credit card was automatically coming from her checking account.
Well, that was done in April. That's after March. What's Sweet Sue?
Never heard of a Sweet Sue.
Is your new address 71?
Yes, ma'am.
So this bill was sent to you, showing what the balance was on the account in April, in May, and then the balances kept growing and growing because of finance charges, and you kept receiving these bills at your new address. What did you do with them when you got them?
I rarely check the mail, so my daughter might have gotten them and put them away because she does that.
That's a lot of baloney, Miss Coleman.
Oh, no, that's the truth.
No, that's a lot of baloney, Miss Coleman. Miss Coleman, you are clearly responsible for this. The fact that your daughter put away your mail and you didn't look for it, then you're responsible for it. But don't give me a lot of baloney that you never saw these bills.
No, I didn't.
Maybe one you could miss. March, April, May, June. This is a July bill, and you just ignored it. Why did you think you could get away with this?
I wasn't trying to get away with anything.
Sure you were.
After all the thousands of dollars to him that I paid to him over the couple of years that we was together, that was...
Wait a second. Because that's what you say in your answer.
Yes.
You say in your answer, I bought him a lot of jewelry and clothes and a lot of other things in the time that we were together.
Yes.
I more than paid him back. Now you're telling me that you bought him enough things and you just chose to ignore these bills because they were on his credit card. I would like to know what your defense is.
Well, my defense is that I gave him money to pay on the bills that he claimed that I owe him.
Okay, well, that defense is clearly non-existent because if you gave him money in March of 2000, you owed a lot more money on these cards. They kept building up and building up and building up. Your daughter threw away the bill. She hid the bill. You didn't see the bill. You bought him a lot of stuff when you were together.
Yeah.
Which one is it?
All of the above.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount requested, $1,111. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Williams versus Stewart. Step forward, please.
46-year-old homemaker Pamela Williams is suing her former friend, 28-year-old hairstylist Shay Stewart, for an unpaid car loan and utility bills. Shay says she worked off the debt by braiding hair.
Well, I'm going to cut right to the chase here because the facts are a little bit complicated on the plaintiff's side, so I'm going to just cut right through them. You and the defendant were friends for many years.
Yeah.
And she was going through some hard times. And you helped her out. In 1996, you co-signed for a car for her.
Correct.
She couldn't get a car on her own. So far, that's correct.
Right.
And during the next few years, she had serious problems paying for that car. And during the course of several transactions, the car was repossessed. You had to go and sign a paper, again, co-signing in order to make sure your credit was clean and the car was paid for. She got the car back. You did not get the car back. But there was a substantial amount left owing on the car, even when they sold it off for whatever. They sold it and there was a big chunk of money left off. She agreed to pay that so that, again, your credit would not be destroyed. So far, is that correct? You agreed to pay that?
I agreed to pay that with the judge, yes, but she was supposed to have been released from all
But she wasn't. She had to co-sign for you. And as it turned out, you again did not pay that judgment, so that they contacted the plaintiff. Plaintiff ultimately worked out a resolution with them for less money than they wanted, and you paid on her car loan how much?
$2,200.
So you paid $2,200 on the balance of what she owed on the car.
Yes.
And during this same time period, she ran into some additional difficulty. She didn't have money for utilities, and you gave her some additional money.
Yes.
How much?
It was $80 for electric and $126.95 for the gas.
And you acknowledge she gave you that money?
Yes, but it wasn't a loan. She gave it to me.
No, she's tripping. She's tripping.
Just a second. Don't speak. 2, 3, 4. Okay. That's $24.06 and change.
Exactly.
Okay,
However,
can
I did include the certified mail to the attorneys when I sent the check, so I put the $3.
Okay. Your defense to this entire action, Ms. Stewart, is that there was an agreement that you would pay off this debt to the plaintiff by braiding her children's hair.
Right. That I've been doing throughout the years.
Okay. So I want you to tell me about that agreement.
The agreement, she told me that she had to pay the payment back, and that that's what she wound up being stuck with having to do, and that I owed her, and that we would make the arrangements by me braiding the girl's hair and hers. When I met her, she didn't even have any hair, and the kids' hair was in bad condition. But throughout the years and the course of time,
How many years did you braid their hair? Starting when?
94, 95.
So is what you're telling me that she agreed to co-sign for this car loan and she paid off this loan for you because from the time that you were braiding her children's hair, even before you bought the car, in 95, you were braiding her hair and weren't charging her?
No, I was charging her up until that point.
Up until what point?
Up until after I fell delinquent in my car payment.
Until what year?
97, 98, somewhere up in there.
Did you ever have an agreement, Miss Williams, with Miss Stewart, that she could work off this debt she owed you by braiding your children's hair?
No, actually, the debt that she was supposed to work off by braiding the children's hair was for an exercise machine that I loaned her, which got misplaced somehow.
That I've been
paid
for.
And it was $300. Exactly, but the machine that that was the only thing that we ever bartered hair for. That's because this costs nothing. This was, as far as I was concerned, an inanimate object. Okay, you lose it, you can do the hair for it, that's fine. But when you put out cash money that could go into my children's mouths, that's a lot different.
The aggravation that you caused her should have caused you to braid her children's hair for nothing. Just the aggravation. Twice, she was subject to legal process. She had to take 20... What kind of work do you do for
Which
a
I
living?
voluntarily went to court with her on to help.
Just a second, this is your thing. What do you mean you voluntarily went with her? You're supposed to voluntarily go with her.
I just had it stuck on my credit and that was it.
No, it's also stuck on her credit.
And that's why I went.
You don't get it. What kind of work do you do for a living?
I'm just a homemaker.
Goodness gracious me. Miss Stewart, when somebody extends a helping hand to you, you're supposed to do the right thing. You're not supposed to do the wrong thing.
And that's what I did, Your Honor.
You
by
didn't
going to court with her.
By going to court with her, this was not her debt, it was your debt.
Yeah, but they was talking about taking her house back. Taking her house from her then.
You should have braided her children's hair until they were receiving Social Security for all the trouble you caused her.
I don't
They were
owe
threatening to take her house away because she co-signed a car for you that you didn't pay for, and you think it was nice of you to go to court with her? Yes. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,409, which includes the certified mail. Goodbye.
Parties are excused. You may step out. This is case number 4.
সমুদ্র দপ্তর উত্তর ভারতের রাজ্য বিস্তার নীতি সম্পর্কে লেখো। অর্থাৎ সমুদ্রগুপ্তে ভারত হচ্ছে রাজ্য বিস্তার করছে, এই জন্য ভারত মানে এত বড় না। প্রাচীন বাংলার ইতিহাসে সমুদ্রগুপ্ত এবং গুরুত্বপূর্ণ স্থান দখল করে আছে। প্রাচীন বাংলার ইতিহাসে ভারত কত বড় চিটার রে। প্রথম চন্দ্রগুপ্তের সুযোগ্য পুত্র সমুদ্রগুপ্ত সিংহাসন আরোহণ করে বিশাল সাম্রাজ্য গঠনের রাজ্য বিস্তারের আত্মনিয়োগ করে। কৌটিল্য কর্তৃক প্রচারিত রাজনীতি ছিলেন তিনি মুখ্য প্রতীক। সমুদ্রগুপ্তের উত্তর ভারতের রাজ্য বিস্তার নীতি। সমুদ্রগুপ্তের শাসনে উত্তর ভারত বা আর্যপর্ব বহু খণ্ড রাজ্য বিভক্ত ছিল। অর্থাৎ ভারত, এই যে আজকে যে ভারত, এটা আরো খণ্ড বিখণ্ড ছিল। এসব রাজ্য রাজাদের মধ্যে যারা প্রধান এবং শক্তিশালী ছিলেন তাদের সবাইকে উচ্ছেদ না করতে পারলে আর্যপর্ব নিজ আয়ত্তাধীনে আনা সম্ভব ছিল না। এ কারণে আর্যভট্টের রাজার ক্ষেত্রে সমুদ্রগুপ্তের সর্বরাজ্যতা অর্থাৎ সকল রাজার উচ্ছেদকারী ভূমিকায় অবতীর্ণ হয়। এরপর কি করে ওরা? সকল রাজাদেরকে হচ্ছে মেরে ফেলে একক রাজ্য বিস্তার করে। ফলে স্বভাবতই সমুদ্রগুপ্ত আর্যবাদের রাজাগণকে উচ্ছেদ করে তাদের সাম্রাজ্য নিজ সাম্রাজ্যে ভুক্ত করার সামরিক অভিযান এবং সাম্রাজ্য প্রসার নীতি প্রথম পদক্ষেপ হিসেবে গ্রহণ করে। অর্থাৎ এর প্রথম পদক্ষেপই ছিল, মনে করো যে ভারতের হচ্ছে রাজ্য বিস্তার করা। এই জন্য হচ্ছে ওই যে আরো যে রাজাগুলো ছিল এদেরকে হচ্ছে মারি ফেলে এরা হচ্ছে কি রাজ্য বিস্তার করছে, মানে একনায়কতন্ত্র করছে আর কি যেটা। তারপর হচ্ছে গঙ্গা যমুনা উপত্যকায় তিনি যেসব রাজাকে পরাস্ত করেন তারা হলেন অসুত্য, নাগসেন, গণপতি নাগ এবং কোটা পরিবার। পণ্ডিতদের ধারণা সম্ভবত দক্ষিণাত্য অভিযানের আগে সমুদ্রগুপ্ত তার বিরোধী শিবিরে এবং রাজাদের প্রধানত করে এবং 50 জনের নিকটস্থ করে। এ সময় পশ্চিমে নাগদের সঙ্গে দক্ষিণের ব্যাকারদের মিত্রতা হতে যাচ্ছিল। এই মিত্রতা স্থগিত হলে গুপ্ত শক্তি বিপন্ন হতো। তাই সমুদ্রগুপ্ত আগ বাড়িয়ে নাগরাজ্য আক্রমণ করে এবং মৈত্রী সম্ভাব্য ভেঙে দেয়। মানে এরা যে এই যে মনে মনে একটা হচ্ছে এই যে ষড়যন্ত্র করছিল, এটা হচ্ছে ভেঙে দিছে আবার সমুদ্রগুপ্ত এদেরকে হচ্ছে আক্রমণ করি এদের হচ্ছে ভেঙে দিছে। হয়তো তিনি বাগটেন শক্তিকেও মধ্যপ্রদেশের ইরানের যুক্ত হারিয়ে দেন। এ জয়ের ফলে গঙ্গা যমুনা উপত্যকায় সমুদ্রগুপ্তের আধিপত্য স্থাপিত হয়। পরিশেষে বলা যায় যে প্রাচীন বাংলার ইতিহাসে অসাধারণ প্রতিভাবান বিজেতা হিসেবে সমুদ্রগুপ্তের পরিচয় স্বীকৃত। অসাধারণ প্রতিভাবান বলেই হচ্ছে মানুষক মারি মারি রাজ্য দখল করছে। সমুদ্রগুপ্ত ছিলেন ত্রিভুবন বিজয়ী। উত্তর ভারতের রাজ্য জয়ের ফলে গঙ্গা যমুনা উপত্যকায় সমুদ্রগুপ্তের আধিপত্য স্থাপিত হয়। সমুদ্রগুপ্তকে ভারতীয় নেপোলিয়ন বলা হয় কেন? সমুদ্রগুপ্ত গুপ্ত সম্রাটগণের মধ্যে প্রধান পুরুষ সমুদ্রগুপ্ত। প্রাচীন ভারতের ইতিহাসে রাজ্য বিজেতা স্বরূপ যে কজন সম্রাট খ্যাতি লাভ করেন তাদের মধ্যে সমুদ্রগুপ্ত প্রথম সারিতে স্থান পেয়েছে। তিনি নিজ বাহুবলে গঙ্গা উপত্যকায় একটি আঞ্চলিক রাজাকে সর্বভারতীয় রাজত্ব পরিণত করে। সিংহাসন আরোহণ, এরপর হচ্ছে মানে ওই আগে হচ্ছে আগের রাজাগুলোকে মারছে, মারিও হচ্ছে রাজ্য দখল করছে, তারপর হচ্ছে সিংহাসন দখল করছে। কত বড় বার্তা ছিল।